Debbie does doubt.
Debbie does. One day that will be on here. But yeah. Captain Ron here, as I was saying, you're going to show it eventually.
Obviously, I'm going to show it. It's called the Physical Media Show.
Welcome to America's hottest hotline. Guys, how many are waiting?
Vinegar syndrome. Guys.
And this new one, and that's Air Force One.
Get off my plane. I think Sony paid you a bunch of money to talk about all their steelbooks today.
Screen movies.
Stuff, but you know,
Are we seriously going to have to talk about the screen movies again?
This is a movie I didn't think I'd like as much as I did. And I know it was like really popular because it like won some Oscars and whatever. But
Debbie does doubt.
Since we're actually showing something, is they actually produced crew jackets. Like, the movie never went into production, but it is. Oh, it's got a Delta Force 2 motion.
Hey, that works either way.
That's cool.
Is anyone even there still? I don't even know.
Yeah, we're just listening to
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, no one's saying it. Like,
really
is this a story?
It's on Netflix if you want to watch it.
Hello, fellow warriors. Welcome back to FanZcene, and this is the Physical Media Show. Glad you can join us tonight. Tonight with me, I have rookie critic Tom Connors. Thank you guys for being here. And then later, we should be joined by Steven of Deleted Scenes. So I've got a bit of a full show for you tonight. Runner will not be here this week. He will not be here this week. He's still out hanging at his Best Buy. Even though they told him they didn't want him, he's white and Christian. They didn't want him, so he's still there. But how you guys doing tonight, Rook?
Doing pretty good. Doing good, broski. Thanks for having me on again. Good to. I love being the runner's like filler spot.
Yeah,
like,
you're
out here sometimes. One of the bench players that can come in. Like, all right, I'm in, coach. Put me in.
Yeah. You're definitely runner before you. Like when we started the show, you're runner. Because he didn't know Jack and he didn't have heart like Jack.
Yeah.
So we got that. So Tom, how you doing tonight? How you been?
Doing the best I can, actually. Considering, but I'm here. We got some interesting rumors today, and we've had some interesting news this week. But sadly, we did not get a chance to have 4K for you today. I apologize about that. But
yes,
hopefully we'll catch back up with everything next week.
Yes. And we'll get into those here in a minute. I just want to say hi to the chat real quick. So you guys have been waiting for us. Says Random Brad. Welcome. Says happy joy. Thank you so very much. Style section. Hail the Physical Media gang. Till we have Tim Hayes. Welcome, Tim Hayes. Glad to have you here as well too. And like I said, Steven will be joining us later. He had to do some stuff first. Let's see who else we got here. We got 80s Made Consumer. He said I made it. Great guy. He has a great collection too. We'll have to get him on here one day as well too. He's got a lot of stuff. And Stephen Luther says, "What's up, Greg? Everyone. What's up, Stephen? Glad to have you here. Hell to you, Tyrell 72. Glad to see you here as well too." Brandon Brad, rookie. Yeah, runner's never here. I know that's. Anyway, that's for another day. Yes, after your Best Buy runner. But thank you all for hanging out in the chat and being with us. And I hope you guys are going to enjoy the show tonight. We have Corley and Rogue who just joined us well too. I just noticed earlier that Deleted Scene sounds exactly like Brad Dorff's normal speaking voice. Oh, that's I bet he would really love that. You know what? Not too bad. What's up, Bronson White Wolf? Always glad to have you in the chat and your interesting questions and stuff you give us. Glad to have you here. And Dan Blackroyd, no runner, so another record show coming up. Yeah, we always get big numbers when runner doesn't show up. What can I say? It's funny is what usually happens is it won't happen tonight, guys. It's not going to happen tonight. But what usually happens is Robert Meyer Burnett usually shows up when runner's not here.
Never said
probably
it.
Won't happen tonight. Yeah, never said it. But probably won't happen tonight. But that is something that really.
I have met Brad Dorff though, and it's funny he came up. But we'll get into that.
Yes,
a little bit.
It's always like
true classic, never goes out of style.
I love it. It's perfect. It's just funny. It's like even like with Runner and like now with the chat, it's like some kind of like weird happenstance. He always like connects to stuff, and we don't even talk with each other about what we're bringing, and it just sort of happens to roll together. It's weird. But yeah, we have.
What would Martha Stewart say?
Fuck Martha Stewart. Oh, that's too early in the show.
If
Good.
Nah, I was saying, yeah, you're right. It's too
Oh
early.
yeah, too early. Wish I pre-ordered Metapocalypse movie. It came out yesterday. And
Had
it's
a
sold
slip.
out.
You call that a little slip?
Yeah. That's good, Chucky. You do a good Chucky, but then again, you always do good voices. But yeah, you want to go over some
Chucky,
news?
the killer doll, and I love it.
It's perfect. But is there any like news? Like we don't have much in the way of like rumors. There's a few. Like we got the confirmation that Disney is releasing The Mandalorian season 1 and 2, WandaVision, and Loki on 4K. Which honestly, it's awesome. I think they're great that they're doing that. But I really don't plan on picking
Disney,
those
the
up.
most bipolar company in home video.
And
Fuck
that's-
you, Australia.
Exactly. I have so many people in my comments from Australia like, well, they fucked us over down here, so what's it's
That's like
I
your
get it.
girlfriend who refused to blow you the entire time you were together. The next week after you break up, you find out she blew 3 guys at a party.
Yeah.
Well, it's like seriously, they're like, okay, let's just not make more money over there. How about we do that? Let's
Yeah.
not make.
I have no idea what the deal is with that. It's like, yeah, we're gonna quit making home video over in Australia, but while we're at it, we're gonna dump a bunch of shows that nobody wants on disc.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're going to start getting it back in physical media, which I'm glad they are, give us some of the titles that we want: the Fox
Right.
titles, the Touchstone spot titles, the Hollywood Picture titles. Give us those. People will buy and watch those.
I feel like even the direct-to-TV Disney movies would have a better chance than the ones they put on there right now.
You're not
Probably,
wrong, actually,
yeah.
Rook. Those do have an audience. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say there's probably an extra value to them as well from
Mhm.
them never having been physical copied. Like, I don't know, compared to Mando and all that. But
right.
yeah.
Right. But that's like the biggest news we got there. And then there's rumors abound. What was all the rumors? I can't remember. I did see that possibly Nightmare on Elm Street on 4K is coming
Next
sometime.
year, which
Next year,
like
yeah.
we didn't predict that one for the 40th
Yeah.
anniversary. Yeah.
I think we all knew that one
Or
was
50th
coming.
anniversary. Sorry, God, is it?
Yeah.
No, 40th.
Yeah, 40. Is it 83?
Not that old yet. God damn it.
No, it's 84. Yes. So that'll probably come out next year. Trying to think of everything. I think they confirmed the Wicker Man was coming on a special.
The Wicker Man. Yes. We knew this
original-
one was coming, but I think we got a steelbook. Look at the steelbook. I guess Best Buy is going to be getting or something like that.
Yeah. And then Walk Hard to Dewey Cox Story, still booked from Walmart or something.
That one makes me scratch my fucking head.
Right.
Because that's a movie from the early. That was one of the first Blu-rays I ever had. I think it was one of the 5 free ones I got. Bought my PS3. And like, I'm not kidding, by mail.
Yeah.
And I was glad to have it. There were some good titles. But like, I'm like, why are you not remastering this bitch? And I believe it's only the unrated version now. Not that anybody cares, really, because what version are you going to watch other than? But part of the joke of the unrated version is to know the rated version and how long it is. And on the unrated cut, it's called like the unbearably long, super indulgent cut. Because the original version of the movie is like an hour and 36 minutes or an hour and 40
Right.
minutes or whatever. The unbearably long, blah, blah, blah cut is like 2 hours and 30 some minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't see it on the back, Duck Nation. It might be both, but
That's
like
what I
I
was
saw,
thinking,
I
yeah.
saw a picture of the art, and it did not say anything about the rated version being on it. So to me, it sounded like okay, so they're just dumping the theatrical cut and giving you everything we already got before on Sony's release. And let's be real, we all know Mill Creek does not do new scans.
No, they don't. Whatever they got,
So-
they put it out. Yeah. So it was
And I
that.
highly doubt anybody else has.
Yeah.
Or
I
Sony
highly
would have put it out. Like, here's the weird thing. I think unless somebody can tell when they get it, somebody let me know if they get it, if it's different than the other one. I'd like to know because I thought I heard a rumor that one might be hitting 4K at some point with Talladega Nights coming soon. You didn't hear that from me, or maybe you did.
Ooh. Keep that in mind. Honestly, think that's about it. I know Arrow Video will be releasing their new stuff Friday. Well, what they got planned Friday. So we'll probably get a slew of stuff from Arrow Friday announcement wise.
I think Imprint also supposed to be dropping a bunch of news Friday.
Looks like Friday there's going to be a lot of new stuff, but mostly
Which
I think
is kind of why I didn't do a 4K for you, because I know it's going to be super packed next week.
Yeah. So
although we probably should have, but yeah,
it happens. Sometimes you need a break. I get it though. But yeah, like I think that's really about what we mentioned is pretty much it. Pretty much it. I don't think there's anything else coming at this moment in time. Or now
there was the news that we're supposed to get 3 different cuts of Mario Brothers on the 4K.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's real, but yeah.
They are releasing it in Japan on 4K, so it's been done. I did read about that. They're playing a 4K scan over there.
But will Oppenheimer be on 4K in Japan?
Oh, too soon.
All right.
That's how they got us back for the bomb, making Oppenheimer bomb.
Yes.
I have actually not seen Music of the Heart directed by Wes Craven. Bronson.
It's boring.
Is it? I've always wanted to, but I've always thought,
it's like every single biopic smoltzy kind of movie at that time period from my memory, like Dead Poets Society meets Mr. Holland's Opus kind of shit. Yeah.
Bronson, I don't want to give you a pet peeve for Scream because we've talked Scream to death. I have a whole Scream stream. You can check that out. There's a mod, Steven, whoever shows up, put the link to the Scream stream in the chat. You'll see our pet peeves there for the Scream. But Nightmare on Elm Street, I don't have many, but there's a few.
They tried to remake it in 2010. That's it.
Yeah. That's really about
That's
it.
the worst thing for the franchise, really. I mean,
I have a little bit with part 2 because I think it's more of an Amityville style horror movie than a Freddy movie, but it is got the scariest Freddy. So
it has aged really well. That's the thing about all the Freddy films is they have aged really, really well outside of maybe Freddy's Dead, which I have to watch again.
Mm-hmm.
Might be the only one that didn't age better, but was better at the time. We thought it was good at the time, but then I've slowly noticed a lot of people turn against that movie.
I have.
And a New Nightmare, on the other hand, has gotten a new resurgence, and that's one of the few they talk about in the not Wes Craven documentary, the Robert Englund one.
Yeah,
we had talked about recently, because that's one of the few Nightmare movies he does talk a little bit about, because he talks a little bit about how it was disappointing, how it was received at the box office, but then they did notice that it had a resurgence later on, and how it kind of predated Scream. A lot of things I've said about it before.
Yes.
And how it had a lot of the same kind of meta things going on with it. It was the first meta movie before meta was a thing.
Yep.
Really. But yeah.
It was his first attempt at that. And you can see where Scream was going to come from that. Even though he didn't write
the
Scream,
roots of it are in there. Yeah.
Yeah, you could see it. I told Rook about that. He hasn't seen the Nightmare on Elm Street yet. He's looking to
we'll enjoy those. Those are fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can actually pick up the box set pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's still like $20 for all of them.
And they're not that bad as scans, actually. I mean, and I'm not so sure that they're going to do anything for the second and beyond films. I mean, all we know so far is the first film got a remaster a couple of years back, but hell, that old Blu-ray was from a really good remaster too. So
yeah. So, but I am looking forward to getting at least the first one on 4K. I would like all of them, but I'll take the first one.
I would think they would at least give us the first 3. Maybe I don't know why you wouldn't do all of them, because they all did pretty similarly box office wise. The only one that didn't do well in the box office was New Nightmare. Really, like that's the only one that technically lost any money.
And I think you could really chalk that up to maybe it being ahead of its time, and also at that point in time, the slasher horror franchise genres like that were kind of on their way out.
They opened it in August too, which was weird. They should. I mean, that used to be the stomping ground for Freddy, but by that point, it had been 5 years since the last Freddy, or at least 3 or 4 years since the last Freddy movie or whatever it was. Freddy's Dead was in 91, right?
Right.
So we're at 94. So okay, 3 years. So I mean, at that point, Freddy, we'd all gotten used to him on video and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I feel like there could have been a way that they should. And it's not like I can blame New Line. They got behind the movie to advertise it.
Yeah, and
they treated it very well, so it's not New Line's fault. I don't know what it opened up against at that time. I'd have to go look.
Yeah, they made big amends with the Wes Craven and all them too, wanted to get them all come back to that. I mean, he even got
it was
them
one
in
of the
movie
worst
and
times
everything.
for horror, though. That's the weird thing. Was
Yeah.
like most people go, "Oh, horror is always pop." No, it was. There was this small patch of time in the 90s where horror was uncool until Scream came around for some reason.
Mhm.
Like you had a slew of just garbage. Like speaking of Wes Craven, he was making shit like a Vampire in Brooklyn, for instance, and shit like that. And that flopped. The last Nightmare on Elm Street movie flopped. The last Jason movie actually technically kind of flopped too, but that was back in '89. Chucky had kind of run its course by that point too, because by '93 the third film had come out, and I don't think that did very well in the box office at all, compared to the first two films. But yeah, so like everything had kind of run its course. A lot of horror was going straight to video, and you also had, in a way, although we remember them fondly now, but Full Moon and those kind of straight to video companies were really cheapening a lot of the horror films, I think, at the time. And I don't know what happened. I would love to talk to somebody who kind of has a good theory as to what happened at that time period, but I don't know if you remembered it all, Greg, but like, you know, Rookie Runner is like way too young to remember. So like, yeah, I love how he changed his.
I just got back from Best Buy, so forgive me, you guys. I just wanted to get another copy of Don't
so we
Breathe
can
on
keep calling
Blu-ray.
him the wrong name, and then he can finally remind us after like 3 times. It's like, I'm not Runner, guys.
I found another copy of Don't Breathe.
I'll never be Runner, no matter how much you want me to be, Tom.
I'll always be Runner now. I am the Runner now.
No, you don't have as, I don't know if you could have as bad a takes as he does. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Well,
I will say
about that, Mister.
Like, I did look up Nightmare on Elm Street. It opened against Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction and the Specialist.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction was a phenomenon.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's something about that decade. I talked a little bit with David Weiner about it. You know, the director of the In Search of Darkness movies, because they're doing the '90s now. Yeah, I think it was something. He was like saying it was like at that time it was just something like horror was going through growing pains and stuff, and people were kind of coming out of the '80s wanting something different, and they didn't quite know where to go with it, and so it kind of like dipped out up.
Oh, then I really should check that out. Maybe I should watch more of your videos.
Please do, but yeah, that's I'm interested.
No, I think he's right, and we did have. I think actually I would love to be a part of that documentary because I think I have a few takes on it. I think a big part of it was the AIDS epidemic. That was one of the first times in our history as Americans where we really faced something that was like this. Like we didn't understand it. We didn't know where it came from. We didn't know how it would kill us. We just know it killed whoever got it, and badly. And there was no saving them. Like it was just watching your friends slowly, waste away. So, I mean, I think just there was that coming out of the 80s into the 90s.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of killed people's taste for it. Does that make sense?
I can see that, because especially when you're coming through something like that and you're seeing like the horrors of real life, like with that.
Maybe what I mean. It was something that was a little bit more advanced beyond what we've ever kind of seen before, as far as like dealing with any kind of disease in a modern era, or something like that. Or and as a country and a world, we kind of, I don't know. And especially like, like I talked about movies like last week when I brought on Near Dark, right? Like, which is clear analogy of that whole thing. And look at how that movie failed at the box office. That's another film that you can't, watching it, you're like, how did this fail? Like, even if they did advertise this movie, how did this fail?
Exactly.
Like, this should have been twice as big as Hellraiser, just by everything on paper. It just makes no sense. But yeah, anyway, I think that might be one of the part of the reason of it. To be honest with you, I think people are just a little too afraid to. They're still dealing with some real world shit at that point. So horror movies were not their kind of escapism. They wanted Forrest Gump. They wanted Pulp Fiction. They wanted stuff like that. I think Jurassic Park, for instance.
They wanted to be happy again.
As closest to horror as they wanted to get was Jurassic Park. It's kind of like with the Vietnam War era, maybe. Even though as we were coming out of the Vietnam War, that's when slasher horror kind of started becoming popular.
And also, it's sort of where like, because like Silence of the Lamb came out and was huge. It's also sort of like where the whole like true crime, psychological like serial killer fascination started as well too. So people
That's why
started
I don't
moving more towards
understand why
that.
New Nightmare didn't do better, because at that point, that was kind of where Hollywood missed the ball, I think, or maybe it wasn't ready. Horror wasn't ready to graduate yet, or something, maybe. Because yeah, you're right. Silence of the Lambs brought slasher horror right to the forefront of Hollywood and won Best Picture.
Mhm.
And this is what, 2-3 years before New Nightmare.
Yep,
Yeah,
it was like
New Nightmare should have been winning Oscars then. That's what I'm thinking. But like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Like,
it's true. It's true. But that's what I'm saying. It's weird. 90s horror is weird. So I'm interested to see where they go in that documentary. And anybody watching, I and Tom would absolutely love to be in those documentaries. Just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we could contribute.
They're the reason I actually met Brad Dourif, because I was
Mhm.
partaking in a watch party thing for Dune for the sci-fi version of it. But yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
let's
All right,
move on.
Yeah, let's go on. Let's start with rookie Runner Jr. up there.
Runner Jr.
Runner Jr., what's your first pick? And audience, please go easy on him.
I figured I'll start with one that is easier for you guys to palate, so that it's not as jarring or crazy. One introduced to me by Black Angus Reviews.
Yeah, but he does.
with-
Oh,
He really is Runner Jr. He really,
oh
truly
my God!
is
It
Runner
is.
Did he do
Jr.
this?
It's almost worse because he's got a fucking library version of the DVD.
Hold on. Well, I got it from Angus. He isn't at the library. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Fuck me. Okay.
No, that's good. Go ahead. Talk about it. Since you brought it.
No, he's brought this one on before too, so it's like a
Okay.
repeat.
Okay.
Okay.
I doubt
Oh, he's got a backup. He's got a
I
backup.
doubt
There
he's
we
had
go.
this one before. Father Goose.
Okay, actually, this is good. I like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was saving my guns for later, but I got to bring them out now.
You should have done that.
So, like, I've already seen the movie, so I didn't open this out of the package yet from when I got it. But Father Goose is like a 1960s movie, and shown by my mom. She's watching random stuff sometimes on YouTube. They sometimes have movies you can watch for free, and she's like, saw this at one time, and it's like freaking hilarious. And I just popped in, watched a little bit of it too. Freaking hilarious. Like, 60s comedy, like, she smacks him in the face for some reason. He smacks her right back. She like a little girl. He's like trying to get water.
We used to be able to do that back then.
Yeah.
Crazy.
He's trying to get water out of a boat, and like these little girls that are there, like trying to bring water in or something. They spit on him. He spits right back, or like hits them on the head or something. He's like, he's not taking shit. He's just a guy that wants to get drunk on, but they recruit him to be an island sitter. This is around, I think, 1969. So, or is it? I think the movie is in 1969, but it takes place. The story is in like World War II, I think. Because he has to be on like an island, and they're like supposed to keep an eye out for air traffic of like, is that an enemy ship going by or one of their friendly ones or something? Keep track of stuff. They'd have people on islands to keep track of stuff going on and whatever, and they just like he's like really difficult with it. It is hilarious. He ends up having a whole bunch of basically Girl Scouts or like from a school or something, and this woman that he's got to take care of essentially, and it's just a nice little fun comedy from the old days that like fits right away with today kind of stuff, and it's just pretty funny. And I assume that Tom has seen it. I don't know if FanZcene's seen it.
Yeah,
but
it's one of my mom's favorites actually, and I'm surprised they haven't remade it already like 3 or 4 times with people like Bruce Willis and like Sharon Stone or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it seemed like one of those, like they kind of did the other
like with
one
Overboard and stuff.
Well, they had Harrison Ford and what's her face in 7 Days and 7 Nights. And when that one was successful, which was a remake of one of these movies from one of the same kind of movies from that era, I'm surprised they didn't go to this one and a few other ones. But no, it's ripe for a remake at this point. But it's a delightful little story that could work now. Even I'm surprised they didn't remake it in the 80s. But yeah,
it's one that I wouldn't mind them showing around more. I mean, I feel like a remake, I don't think they can get it that same kind of way with the same kind of humor that it was. It'd be, I just don't see it working. Kind of like, I don't have as many examples of older films that I've seen that are remade, but like Overboard is just one that was like, I knew the original one, and then they remade that, and then it's just like, what the hell is the point?
Well, yeah, Overboard is kind of the predecessor, or not predecessor, the
like
successor.
after Father Goose. And
Sorry,
stuff. Yeah.
successor to Father Goose.
Yeah. Basically. And it's like there's just a lot of simple, basic comedy. There's like, just different stuff. Like, these two people, they don't want to be together at all. They're on this island. It's World War II era. There's children involved at some point. Like, it just has a great little small plot.
Kids in World War II. Good family fun.
It feels gritty in that, like, there's it might be. It might, when I say gritty, I mean, I guess it feels like, there's no extra, I guess there's not as many digital effects with this. There's no, it's one of those old ones that feel like, yes, it's before they had too much like stuff that they try to stuff into something. It's just a few characters, a few funny interactions, and they call him Father Goose or whatever because he's like they call him Mother Goose basically. Yeah. when he ends up having the kids he's looking after, and it's just funny. So that's one of my, in a way, it's like one of those. Not favorite, but I really like it.
Actually, there you go. I recast it with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn.
There you go.
There you go. That'd be the remake of this one.
And speaking of crowded, hey, Steven.
Yes, Steven, how you doing?
Now we've got a full panel.
Good talk.
Good talk, Steven.
Doing pretty well.
Been a
crazy day.
Give me the power, I beg of you. People were saying you sound like Brad Dourif earlier.
Yeah. We lost him again.
Fair enough. I'll take it.
There you go.
How's everybody doing?
Are you coming through the wrong mic, or are you having connection issues? Are you there? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
There we are. Okay.
There, yeah. That's all.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
There you go. Those old 60s movies and stuff like that, they were so much better than people give them credit for. And they got away with so much more in there than you actually realize, because so many people think they're just so simple, so like nothing ever really happened or too sweet. But sometimes they got away with little stuff in there, here and there, that you didn't expect. And it's just good classic actual movie making for entertainment purposes. So
yeah, and I mean, I don't think the movie's that long either, but it feels like it's a substantive amount of time with it, and it's good though. Like I don't feel like getting up or like, oh, this is the boring scene, I'm gonna go away. Like there's comedy that isn't like comedy the whole time. It's just like, like one of the little girls, or they like hide the alcohol from him, and because he just wants to drink, and it's just like small little things, and he's like trying to he finds one, yes, okay, or he has to do like rewards or whatever for like a reward system or something with it, and it's like just funny little shit, just fun little shit.
Yeah,
nice and good. Yeah, I recommend Father Goose to everybody.
Good save, because not that Whiplash, and a lot of people like Whiplash and everything, but it's like legitimately, you really are Runner G.
Well, it's like for me, it's like I've only seen it once, and I've never talked about it with people really. So it's like, oh, that's a perfect one. But I didn't. I forget that he also loves Whiplash. I think he's the one person I've talked to about it with, other than Angus, who showed me it. So I didn't think about that.
But that's
oh yeah, there's two sides to Runner. There's pretentious film school Runner, and then there's like, I have no clue and I have very bad taste. Runner.
Exactly.
You don't know which one you're going to get until you see which movie it is. Yeah.
Just consider me a scroll and I'm Runner now.
That works. But I have not seen The Incredible Mr. Limpet in forever. Is that even
because they haven't released it on anything but DVD? I don't know why.
I think so. I
was mad. They did a Don Knotts box set for Scream Factory or Shout Factory, whatever. And that was one of the only ones that wasn't in there. Well, of course, it's a Warner Brother title. That's why. But no, it needs a remaster. It'd be nice because it's only had a DVD release. Yeah, that's speaking of that. There's like this whole subgenre of film. Yeah, he has some issues.
We lost
him. I thought so. There was like this whole subgenre of films. Like that movie you just brought up, Father Goose, is like 3 subgenres in one. But like, where World War II movies were a subgenre in and of themselves, though. And then you had World War II comedies, and you had World War II romances, and obviously just straight action and all that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Incredible Mr. Limpet, in fact, right within my reach.
Nice.
I got a grunt and groan, but I'll get
it. Yeah, I've not seen Incredible Mr. Limpet.
It is so old. It is a snap case.
Damn. Do I have that? No, I don't have that. I thought I had that on DVD.
I think it came out when did whatever they did the last video release. So yeah, 2002 it looks like here.
Oh no, I don't have it.
Dive into incredible special features. All new introduction by Don Knotts. He was still alive at that time.
Dang.
The vintage documentary Weekend at Weeki Henry Limpet's fish tank. Get in, swim with. Oh, it's like a game. Like that's when they actually used to put shit. Like
Yeah,
this
like
is just
they-
incredible, Mr. Limpet.
Yeah.
Like, and they actually gave a shit to put some stuff into the movie. It's
The
kinda-
animated menus and stuff were awesome.
It's like a
I was
flip
really-
disc. That's how old it is too. It's a flipper.
Oh man.
Does it have one side that's? Oh yeah, it's got the full screen and the widescreen. Holy crap! That's I don't even want to see how bad it is.
I thought I had that one, but I was wrong. I have the old DVD.
Oh, it's even 16. It's at least 16 by 9 enhanced, but it's probably
Mhm.
so chock full of edge enhancements that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, Warner, can we get on that? At least Warner Archive, can we get on that? That's what I would say. But yeah, the great first pick there, rookie. I guess we'll wait for Steven to come back in. So Tom, if you're back,
Oh, you put me on the spot here.
unless you want me to go, you want to wait.
I'm in a little compromised position here at the moment. If you could.
Or I could go again, and then you guys go doubly. Or
No, it's fine.
No.
Just
'Cause
give me
you
a
have
second
less.
otherwise.
Yeah, you have less than all of us. So
that's true. I really have to scramble. I'm like, fuck. Okay, what can I actually pull out that I can that Runner hasn't done that I can do? That's new.
80s Made Consumer says Incredible Mr. Limpet has a Blu-ray and it's $10 on Amazon. Ooh, interesting.
That's news to me.
Yes, I'm going to have to look that up and see myself.
Yeah, I didn't even know it had a digital HD release. I was like, all right, have it.
That is, I'm going to have to
Look.
look that up because I haven't seen that movie in forever now.
It's all right. I've seen it a few times. My kid thought it was all right when he was a kid.
I did too, and it's just I don't know, just something I.
It's one of those movies with live action and animation mix that everybody forgot when Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out, and
Mhm.
I kept reminding people about. It's like, yeah, everybody forgets about that one.
Reminding about which one?
Incredible Mr.
No, I
Limpet.
was fucking around. It's like, everybody forgot about it.
Yeah, he's running.
Oh, my bad. No, he's better. That's pretty good. I wasn't ready for that.
Well, yeah. there you go.
Touche.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should have Rookie
Sure.
join us week in and week out from now on.
Perhaps.
We'll teach him.
We'll see. Is there going to be, or is there going to be a battle for the guest?
When the hell did this get a Blu-ray
battle
release?
for the host or something?
Holy shit.
So it is on there. Nice.
2012? How did I not know about this?
See, this is what I'm talking about because it's like something I haven't thought about.
I
in
would
years
have
'cause
bought this a long fucking time ago. I'm buying it now.
I probably will be buying that as well too. Thank you, 80s
Especially
Made.
it's cheaper than the DVD right now.
Yeah, I'm
That's why I
buying
thought
it.
the DVD had never gone down in price because I was like, oh, it's one that never got released. That's weird. Yeah,
Is it,
full on Warner Brothers and everything.
The archive collection.
No, it's not
No?
even archive
It's
collection. No, the cover's exactly the same. Yeah. No, 2012. That predates the archive collection.
Huh. Well,
It
I
just-
definitely.
They even have the special features and everything on it. Yeah.
Well, that's getting bought.
I just bought it. It
I'm
has the
buying
newer
it as well.
Dolby logo on it too, which is weird. 2012. How did that squeak past me?
That's just something I've not seen in many, many years. And thank
You can
you
buy
to
it
Lu-
right now with the Don Knotts set that I was bitching about.
Yeah. I'm gonna buy it tonight. I'm gonna buy it tonight, definitely. Thank you, RJ Godzilla 81, for reminding me about the Incredible Mr. Limpet. Thank you.
Yeah, and I
All
also
right.
have that. You want the link for the Shout Factory one too, or no?
Which
That's got
one?
Mr. Chicken, the astronaut one, the Shakiest Gun in the West, the Love God, and,
Yeah. I have that box set actually.
Oh, you have that one? Okay. never
Yeah,
mind.
I have it now that you mentioned it because that's when I thought I had an Incredible Mr. Limpet on.
No,
it.
it's not in there. That's what pissed me off. I'm like, how come they
Yeah.
don't have that in there? And there's Uncle Steve.
Hey, Steve. And he's
I know,
oh, he's
Batman. Well,
frozen.
I'm beside myself right now because I swear I looked it up years ago when I wanted to watch it again, and I'm like, oh, no Blu-ray.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
I was wrong. But hey,
Unless
yeah,
it was before 2012, that could be like, to me, 2012 was like yesterday.
same. That's what I think about it. as
I'm
well,
still
too.
stuck in 1999, so
That's what I'm saying. Like when people say the 90s were like 20 something years ago, I'm like, no, it was like 5 years ago. Where you fuck you been? And I'm like, oh yeah, it was. Oh, it sucks. But Steven, since you're here, let's get you going. Can you hear us? Can you?
I can hear everybody perfectly.
All right, what do you got for your first pick here?
All right. My first pick of the night is from last year, and it is called Watcher.
Okay, I've never heard of this one.
It's a Shudder film, and it stars Micah Monroe from It Follows, and Bern Gorman from Torchwood. And it's about a woman who is of Romanian descent but has never lived there. Her husband takes a job in Romania, and then this kind of Rear Window in reverse situation starts to happen. In Rear Window, you had the lead character being the voyeur. And in this case, it's the woman being terrorized by the voyeur. Maybe. Because you're not really sure until the very end, because it's you don't know, is this guy a threat to her? Is it all in her head? Or is it the serial killer that's been dropping bodies around the fringes of the story? It's kind of like Rear Window meets Don't Look Now. It's very, very interesting film. Very, very Hitchcockian. Great performances. I don't know. Not very many people have seen it, so it's definitely one that I would recommend.
Ace Hanlon has seen it.
Right on.
I've never even heard of it, and I'm actually subbed to Shudder. That's one of my few that I actually subscribe to. Well, two. I only do two, Full Moon and Shudder, but I've never seen that one. Sounds interesting.
Check it out. It's an interesting one.
I will. It's interesting you bring up Rear Window. That might pop up later as well. So, just saying. I wish I could talk more with you about this one, but I have not seen it. So,
and I'm both rookie and runner, so I haven't seen it either. So
yes, so I get he's not seen it at all. All right. Well, great first pick there. Deleted scenes. And
I wish I had more commentary to add to that, honestly, though, because it's like oh, The Watcher. That sounds like something, and then I'm just like, that I can't talk about it now because I haven't seen it now.
Yeah. I really, Bryant Barth is asking, is it the one with Keanu Reeves? No. This movie is from last year. It's very different than that. That was a serial killer film with Keanu as the villain, which was interesting. But no, this is a very different film. This is very, like I said, it's very. It's got a lot of Rear Window, and it's got Rear Window in reverse, really. It's got a little bit of Don't Look Now, and it's an interesting movie. I don't want to give too much away for obvious reasons, but check it out.
All right, definitely will. I can watch it on Shudder.
Check them out.
It's on the list.
And I actually like the Keanu Reeves Watcher movie. I was actually going to think about watching that soon. Yeah, it's bad and good for all the wrong and right reasons.
Well, one where he's a villain, that sounds hilarious. So
he was kind of forced to do it, and he hated it, and he's a bad guy in it, and you can tell he just doesn't give a shit.
That's how much of a nice guy it was. He is like it was this thing where he clearly got duped into signing on to this movie or whatever, but he still ended up doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
I can't remember how the court case went out either. They even had to go to court over it, but yeah.
I feel like he can only play a bad guy in the sense of like he's like he's such a bad guy that he's like playing as a good guy that's trying to trick people or something. Like, like, oh, I'm really nice, but the people we've been fighting are actually the good guys, and you're like, what? Like some type of reveal later, like so it's like, oh, but he's
I'm
so
really
nice.
doing this because of my daughter.
All of those guys that we killed, they were like defending the orphanage, and I was getting my daughter from them. So it's like,
kidnapped her.
Huh.
After they killed my puppy.
It's like, well, no, they didn't. You're insane. Shut up.
It's the sad thing is it's got a really great cast, and I do actually like the movie, but it's so bad it's good. It's got James Spader, Marissa Tomei, Keanu Reeves. I mean, it's a great cast, but it's like you could tell these people were duped into a movie they did not want to do. So.
That kind of reminds me of something funny that Keanu said in an interview about the first John Wick. He says, I just want to kill this one kid. I'm not crazy. I'm just after the one guy.
One guy in the movie.
And
the principal.
Yeah.
Good first pick. You got people interested in that. Tom, if you're ready, you ready to go for your first
Yeah, I
pick
guess
whenever you
so.
got?
Yes, this is technically like a part 2 thing because we got a few months back, not quite even a year ago, we got Child's Play 1, 2, and 3 from Shout Factory. And now we have The Bride of Chucky in 4K and Seed of Chucky in 4K. And here's the original poster art on the inside.
Nice.
As I mute myself. And I also got they also come with other slip covers like the original poster art. And they come with the posters, all 6 posters. And this nice enamel pin. So spoilers, the next 2 are going to be on the next round, but we're going to start with first 2, of course. And here is, I even have the Hearted Dembala.
Oh, that's cool.
I can go get in somebody's body now. It's so cool. It's been so long since I've had sex. That'll be so awesome.
So you don't even ask for that, but you know.
Well, I'll be inside someone one way or the other. So, but yeah, no, like Bride of Chucky talking about earlier, we were saying post Scream, this was one of the movies that had a huge resurgence. In fact, I think this one outgrossed the entire franchise to that point. I think it made almost as much as the entire franchise. It was huge. And this looks great. Shout didn't do the scan. I believe it was Universal, but it comes from the negative for the most part. And as I was anticipating, due to I don't know what kind of film they used to shoot it. It was some kind of special Eastman film at that time, but I remember seeing it in the theaters, and I remember like it had uber black darks and really dark, deep blues, really dark, deep colors and everything, very rich. Yeah. There was something about it, almost like a velvet feeling to the blackness that whenever it was dark on the screen, which really helped play with the movie, considering most of it's at night. And on Blu-ray, that's carried over very well. It looks stunning, especially compared to the old Blu-ray. Sound is just same 5.1 mix carried over. I think it even may have a stereo mix of that, which is by this time pointless because just about everybody had a 5.1 mix in their theaters. So
yeah,
chances are, unless you had a fondness for this on home video, you might have been used to the 2.0 mix. But I mean, this was one of the first DVD purchases I had. So even back then, the DVD looked amazing for that time period. And I watched a little bit of it like a couple weeks ago. I'm like, oh my God, it looks bad. When the other ones, not weeks ago, but months ago, when the other ones come out. Seed of Chucky, not so much. Looks good. It was shot on film, but there's some CGI elements to it here and there. And then those shots happen. They're very soft. Like the whole opening bit for like the first 10 minutes or whatever is clearly not the negative. It's from the process shots and stuff, because there's a lot of going on in those earlier bits. So that's probably the worst the film looks, but it gets better. So like at first you might be like, wow, that's a big down step after watching Bride of Chucky. But then as the film gets going and you get into the actual film proper, you realize, oh, that was just because the earlier shots had a lot of CGI elements to them, like snow falling or what have you, or anything like that. But it does look pretty good. Now, unfortunately, it is only the theatrical cut on the 4K. But it's only like, I think, a minute difference. There's only like 2 shots that are different. There's like one real quick bit during the jerking off scene where you just see Chucky's hand going like that. And that's the only difference there. And then at the end, this is the only one that bothers me and makes no sense. At the very end in the unrated version, after spoilers, what's her face? Tiffany as what's the actress's name? Jennifer Tilly. Now that she's in the human body again, when she kills the maid, in the theatrical cut, she just kills her and it's done.
Yeah.
In the unrated version, you see her putting her in the closet, and the daughter, Glenda, actually sees her doing it. And they have like a little wink moment, and then it cuts back to where the other stuff is. So that's the only difference. So it's like, really, you couldn't just insert those 2 shots? But I can understand why, because when I flipped over to watch the unrated version, like the quality of those 2 shots is really bad. So I don't even know what the hell the deal is with those, or why that was shot that way, or why it looks that way. But it jumps from like Blu-ray quality to DVD quality for the maid scene. It's really weird.
Well, that's interesting. I do want to pick up the Bride of Chucky on 4K, because that is like a lot of people are saying that's your second favorite. To me, it's always been Child's Play 2, and Bride of Chucky. That's been my 3 favorite.
I don't know about
Chucky
my second favorite, maybe my third. I don't remember saying that. Maybe
Possibly my
they
third
played-
one. No, it was
they
the
played
people
Bride
in
of
the
Chucky.
chat were saying it was their second favorite.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, me always Child's Play 1, 2, then Bride.
Yeah,
then 3.
same me.
I think
And
they
then
played
just-
Bride of Chucky the most on TV. That's the one I remember seeing most often. Like if I was browsing
Oh
anywhere,
yeah,
it'd
it
be
was
Bride,
on
it'd be
all the
Bride of
time.
Chucky,
Yeah.
and then I think on occasion Seed of Chucky, but not really. And
Oh.
Child's Play, I think I caught a glimpse of it on like a random channel, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And I was like, "There's more Chucky, like other than Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky." I
Oh
was like,
god, yeah.
"What?"
There's tons.
So I was like, "Oh, there's 3
Um,
freaking movies before Bride of Chucky." I had no idea.
And you got the TV series now too on top of it, which is heading into a third season.
There's so that's a huge franchise. Like, how is like the Leprechaun and Chucky, all these what would you guys compare them to, like the regular slashers of like Freddy and Jason and stuff like that? What genre is like Leprechaun and Chucky? Like they seem to be in there, but they're separate.
Leprechaun is probably just not quite good enough to get in the pantheon. I mean, he is, but he's not quite. Chucky, on the other hand, is the equivalent of the creature from the Black Lagoon, because you had all the early Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman. That was basically Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, Leatherface, that kind of a thing. Chucky came a little later. He came in 87, 88. So like for him, he was like the guy that came later, and that was what the creature of the Black Lagoon was. So by the time you get past Chucky,
the end of the classic ages and like right around the beginning of the newer ages or something.
Yeah, Leprechaun kind of falls in that funky area because Leprechaun, it kind of lives more. He's like more of the king of the straight to video era, even though his first 2 movies were in theaters. But exactly, yeah, it's a weird era for horror, and so he was kind of the king of that. But yeah, like Leprechaun never quite came close to Chucky.
I got you. Well, I guess I just mean in the terms of like because they've made so many like things around both franchises. I mean, they've done more with Chucky, of course.
I mean, if you're going by pure count number, Chucky now finally I think would have beaten Leprechaun, but there was a while there Leprechaun was way ahead of Chucky.
Yeah, well, I think Chucky has more quality overall, like a more consistent quality and growth in quality. The Leprechaun ones, I'm going to rewatch them all soon. I saw the reboot version, or where they ignore all the sequels and just go after the first one.
Yeah,
and it's like so horrible.
God, no.
I'm like, and it made me think. I'm like, I remember the second one being okay. The third one was weird but entertainingly stupid, and fourth one he's like in space and he goes to the hood like twice, and it's like as bizarre as those were still like genuinely funny though, with how ridiculous it was. It was like it's one of those ones that seems like a low budget B like dumb movie, but then it's also like, yeah, but you can kind of see that it's like it's almost up. It can reach there, you know, like it's getting there.
Leprechaun is to Chucky what, like, you know, Friday the 13th originally was to Halloween in a weird way, but like Jason transcended that. I know that's a bad example. I'm trying to think of better ones, but
yeah, they're hard to. That's why I was asking you guys like where you guys.
But yeah, no, like I wouldn't consider Leprechaun in the same like level as those guys.
It's not like Thanksgiving. It's above that type of thing.
Oh, it definitely is. But
that's like trauma.
Yeah,
yeah. That's the bottom of the barrel. But
it's really hard for me to gauge where to put certain horror films now because I'm actually watching a lot more, and in fact, I'm thinking about it. I might try to set a whole lineup of like 2024 being where I watch just a bunch of horror films because
Chucky is
I'm
actually
really trying to watch a bunch of these. There's so many sequels to every franchise. I'm like, it's gonna take me forever to watch all these anyways.
Yeah.
Oh well, first of all, avoid the remake at all costs. Really, I mean, just do yourself a favor if you're gonna watch that and just watch Megan. Because
I saw Megan as well recently, and I don't know. That was
don't even bother with that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm mixed on Megan, honestly, but
I mean, the thing that Child's Play has going for it, or Chucky has going for him, is that it's the only one of these horror franchises outside of I haven't seen the new Candyman movie, but it's still active and it's still in its original timeline. Because Halloween has been rebooted twice in the middle of that, 3 times technically if you count the remakes.
So it's like the only one that has kept its continuity the entire
original
way.
continuity, original actors, and all that business. Yep.
Okay. That's actually kind of good. I kind of respect it for that.
Even in the face of the remake, it's like that was the year that the original first series dropped.
Yeah,
it was the same year that the remake came out. Yeah.
Yep. They even remade it while it was still going on in its original timeline.
But Child's Play was pre-Scream, right? Like by 10 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
see, like with like how Scream revitalized horror in the 90s and also hurt horror as well in the 90s. I believe Bride of Chucky was 2000, right? Bride of Chucky in the 2000, 98. Yeah, it was near the end there when it sort of helped bring back horror to a new thing, and like it brought back Chucky.
It rolled the wave of Scream, yeah. But what
Yeah.
it did was reinvigorated Chucky. It got us. It basically led to Freddy versus Jason, which
same
was kind of the
director.
end of that era. Exactly. It's
Right,
almost like that
okay.
bookend each other in that way. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how it works.
That's cool. Yeah, I want to check out the whole Chucky franchise again at some point because I've only seen them like pretty much on TV, honestly. So.
That led to H2O, which
Mhm.
yeah, it all became sick. Like H2O and Bride of Chucky came out the same year.
Yeah. And H2O is so much better of a Halloween movie than the new ones, and the better conclusion.
Those were the two movies that rode the wave of Scream and reinvigorated the classics. Yeah, basically.
Yes.
And that's
But
where you get the great line in Bride of Chucky, where a true classic never goes out of style.
One of my favorites is
You
when
born with that thing tied to your hand or something.
one of my favorite parts is when they shoot the nails in John Ritter's head, and he goes, "That looks so familiar."
Oh, there's a lot of that in this movie because in the opening shot, you get Freddy's glove, you get the chainsaw and Jason's mask, for instance.
Yep. It had a lot of like they were so. That's kind of
Very
what I
meta.
like. Yeah, very meta, and that's kind of what I liked about Jason Goes to Hell, because it kind of felt like a monster, like how we just talking like the monster universe. That's what it kind of felt like, and like Bride of Chucky kind of felt like it was setting up a monster universe, sort of, even though they were never really going to happen.
No,
So
but
that's
we
what I
had that. You're right. It had that feeling about it, and it made it for the first time feel possible that we could see some of these guys cross paths. And then it was just very short lived, even though Freddy versus Jason was a humongous success. But yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street film that I saw. And then Jason X.
Nice. Jason
You
X.
poor bastard.
I know he sees all the bad ones first.
Why didn't you just cap it off and watch Jason Goes to Hell?
I've seen Leprechaun Origins. I've seen Jason X.
I think I saw the one with the reboot Friday the 13th from like 2009 or something, I think, too.
That's one of the lesser as far as like as bad. But the problem with Friday the 13th remake is it takes a weird shift the third act. Like Jason suddenly becomes Leatherface.
Yeah, I was confused a lot based on what I sort of had a perception of him, and then it was like, oh, he's got like his sister here or something. I'm like,
no,
what?
Yeah,
like I was so confused.
Yeah, no, they really went weird with it. It's like, first of all, they try to cram 2 or 3 movies into one. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And then the other, and that's just so they could get to Jason. Because as I told my buddy back then, I'm like, damn well they're not going to remake the original Friday the 13th.
Well, I think it'd be fine if they did it well, like Predator does, kind of like the genre of movies, sort of. Everybody always says it's like starts as an action movie and then a slasher and then I forget how they kind of have the last one, but as like a genre.
Well, Jason's also the one of the few that you could just reboot or reset it and not even really acknowledge anything else and just continue. Right? You don't really need like this explanation as to why Jason's back. You just need a fucking
the fan film,
couple of teenagers in a goddamn forest. That's really all you need. Yeah,
the fan film Never Hike in the Snow. Like I saw that with Justin, and it's like that was really good. And there's like only a few, like one character in it that we're following really, and it's like that was done really well. And I didn't give that much information on Jason, but a little bit.
And
I thought it was done really well.
Had the luxury of all of their teenagers in those movies were literally like being set up to get hacked out. You're like you're not even supposed to really like them. Most of them are annoying on purpose. Is so you only have the 1 or 2 that you are rooting for. And
I think that's why I didn't like slashers for a long time, because I was like, I don't want to watch just these people I don't like just because I don't know, it seemed kind of dumb. I want to be like, oh no, don't get killed, guys.
That was the audience's fault, really. It was because they realized that to us the hero was Chucky or Freddy or Jason. We didn't give a fuck about the other people unless you're talking about the very first, girl or whatever. Then we care. But after that, I mean, that's what Scream also misunderstood about Scream 5.
Yeah.
Is they didn't understand that. No, we don't. It's not that we hold the first movie in such big regard. It's just that after that, 9 times out of 10, they rarely give us something or a character that we give a shit about. The rare example I can think of is Tommy Jarvis coming in so late in the Friday the 13th franchise, yet being so synonymous with him and not being in the first film. Otherwise, the most of the time, the reason why the reboots with Jamie Lee Curtis do well, for instance, and such, is just that people want to see the original girl or hero of the franchise face off against, like we talked for years about, we didn't care about how, Nightmare 3 ended. That's how we got fucking New Nightmare to begin with. In fact, I'm sure we would have loved to have a sequel to New Nightmare. Probably would have done a lot better, and that's the only way you could have brought her back and continued that. We thought that's kind of where the franchise was headed at that point.
Yeah.
That kind of was its own H2O before an H2O in a way too, in that weird way. But it did it within continuity.
Yep. And speaking of which, they are making a fan film of New Nightmare sequel with Dylan. Yes, the same actor that played Dylan. Dylan's New Nightmare. So
yeah, that looks interesting.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool. But yeah, I'm glad you liked the Chucky, and I was never a huge fan of Seed of Chucky. I'm sorry, just never was.
Yeah, I get it. That's the one I think you're thinking of, where I will stick up for that one a little bit more.
Go ahead. I mean, and by all means.
But I totally get it. And then Rookie Runner also reminded me that there is a few extra new features on Bride of Chucky, and that's it. Because I was a little let down. I'm like, no new soundtrack, because I believe 1 through 3 got Dolby Atmos tracks, if I remember. Let me look here. It just says H Master Stereo, but I think they all got Dolby Atmos upgrades for the first 3. I swear, maybe I'm wrong, but no sound upgrades. But the only one that has new special features this time out is Bride of Chucky. And it's literally an EPK, but it's the same shit we see for the most part in the making of documentary that's on there from the old deep Blu-ray and DVD. And you get some TV spots and shit that we never got before. And the other thing is, at least they threw on the TV scenes, because that's what reminded me, is when Rookie brought up that he's only seen it on TV, because there's like, I don't know, a few minutes of television scenes to pad out the running time. But they're nothing really to write home about. The ones from part 2 and 3 are a lot cooler.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay.
Is Brad Dourif slowing down on his
acting? Oh yeah. I don't think he's done nearly as much as he used to.
He's getting older. He's had a really good career. So,
well, there's that, and then I don't know if I'm really saying this out of school. I once met someone who was kind of close to Brad Dourif. And he's not down with sort of present day Hollywood, let's put it that way. So that might be factoring in.
Yeah, he's doing okay with he's in the Chucky series doing the voice. He probably makes enough off that they didn't have to do nothing else.
Yeah. I get it. All right. Any other words on the Seed and Bride before we move on to me?
No, I'm good unless anybody else has anything to say. Yeah. Or any questions about him?
All right.
Yeah, I can definitely recommend Bride. I mean, I know that the rest of you guys are not so much into him, but
I like the Child's Play movie. I plan on getting them all eventually as well. But Bride is like one of my favorites with part 1 and part 2.
It would have been nice had they done like a box set for all of them, or like when you bought these last ones, you could get one of the nice box sets like they had for Halloween or Friday the 13th. Because I mean, actually, this is some of the better art. That's why I've actually flipped these out. This is some of the better art we've gotten out of these than some of the other Shout Factory ones. I mean,
it's not bad.
I would have loved a box set surrounded by it in the vein of the Friday the 13th one, basically.
I know.
Yeah.
You would think they would have did something with that. Watch them wait till next Halloween, and they'll give you the whole Chucky set like that.
If they don't allow us to buy the box separately, I'll be pissed. At least like Vinegar Syndrome gives you those options where if you miss out on the first slip cover and they do a second edition or whatever, they'll at least, I mean, sometimes it's not cheap, but it's better than spending the whole price of a movie. Sure, $6.99 for a slip cover, but compared to what people sell them for on eBay.
It's true. But I'll go to me, and since it was brought up earlier and we talked a little bit about an old 60s movie and Steven brought up Rear Window, I had been wanting to watch it, and I finally got the 4K of Rear Window.
All right.
Yes, Jimmy Stortner.
You do a pretty good Jimmy.
Thank you. But yeah, I had not seen Rear Window in freaking years, and after watching Summer of '84, I really, really wanted to watch Rear Window again. So I got the 4K finally. 4K looks great, by the way. I mean, we always say it, but old movies shot on film look so much better on 4K than new stuff. So much better. It looks good. I think maybe there was a little bit of that neat process you talked about, Tom, on certain parts of the movie, but for the most part, it looks good. I can't really complain about it. Just maybe a few instances.
It's on everything now, but I think they've gotten better with it.
Yeah. But that's a solid freaking movie there, man. And Grace Kelly, I know everybody talks about James Stewart, and he is great as a role, but Grace Kelly is freaking amazing in that movie. She delivered a great performance in that, like, with being his girlfriend and wanting to be with him, and he doesn't want to be with her because he's poor, she's rich, and then getting into the mystery and trying to help him out and everything. She does a great performance. And if anybody doesn't know, Rookie or anybody out there, which I'm sure most people should know about Rear Window, there you go. That's cool. I like that. Essentially, Jimmy Stewart there, he's a photographer. He lives in this small, he lives in a small apartment, and he's poor. Well, he thinks
just a poor man.
He's a poor man. He's broken his leg, and he's got a week left in the cast, and he's window watching all of his neighbors in the city in New York.
A bit of a peeping Tom.
Yeah, and he gets focused on one couple, Raymond Burr, who played Perry Mason. Him and his wife. They don't seem to get. They don't seem to get along very well at all, and maybe he kills his wife, and maybe
Perry Mason killed his wife.
Maybe, and maybe Jimmy Stewart is the only one that believes this, and he can't get anybody to believe him except maybe his girlfriend Grace Kelly.
Not only that, he's a vampire. Wait, what?
So many damn movies come from this movie. It's hilarious. Yes. It's like Fright Night.
The whole Simpsons episode comes from this movie too.
I think I've seen the Shia LaBeouf Disturbia. I think that
exactly.
That was also a remake of it. Yes.
Yep.
Was window watching a common activity that everybody did back in the day?
It's sort of, and it's something like most people still do, and this is where it sort of all took place from. Hitchcock latched on to something there.
I mean, Back to the Future, he's like got his binoculars to look up his mom, or Back to the Future, George is looking at her from the tree.
I was just gonna say, it seemed like back in the day, peeping Tom was more or less a get on out of here offense more than it is a arrest somebody offense. But you get to this age where a lot of these guys are more perverts than anything anymore. But
yeah. I mean, it wasn't like he was watching it to be like Tom said, a pervert. He was just watching it because he had a broken leg and
that was his entertainment. He's like, I had nothing on. So
was it bird watching? Is that it, George? What, Lorraine? What?
That's what we call it.
Okay. Lorraine, what? He's a peeping Tom. Probably Hitchcock would probably be canceled today by today's standards.
Fuck yes.
I mean,
fuck yes.
Legitimately, there's a scene in the movie. It's from 1954. There's a scene in the movie. As he's watching all of his neighbors. There's this hot blonde that lives across the way, and she's a ballerina. She's literally topless. It doesn't show anything, but she's literally topless. She bends over, shows her butt, all that. Like that would today in a movie, you put that in something like you hear people bitching about Florence Pugh in Oppenheimer being naked. That shit would get him canceled.
Oh, he pushed that shit all the time.
Right.
When he first came out, here's the thing is there's two different eras, 3 or 4 different eras to Hitchcock, right? You have when he was alive, after he was alive, and the modern day where they've tried canceling him left and right all the time. And is he quite as bad as somebody like Weinstein? No, but he was probably a creep to some of those levels because the way he fucked with some of his actresses and the way he obsessed, according to certain stories and rumors, and a lot of, there's a lot of them. So it's kind of like where there's smoke, there's probably fire. But at that time too, like the way they paint him and the way his wife is painted in a lot of these stories, it's like he knew and she just turned a blind eye to it kind of thing. But that's the way a lot of women had to treat this kind of shit back then, especially when you're married to somebody like Alfred Hitchcock. Now, I don't even know if Alfred actually physically did anything with anybody. Yeah. See, but he would have his obsessions and like Tippi Hedren and certain other ones, like all of his actresses, they all have horror stories about him, but they're not like Weinstein level, but they are bad enough to where you're just like, oh, yeah, no, that would not fly nowadays. But back then it was just like, oh, he was seen as eccentric. So like near his death, he kind of had this, he went from being seen as this schlock director to being all of a sudden everybody kind of rediscovered all his older films, and he was seen as this, you know, masterful director. So near the end of his life, he did get to enjoy some of that fame. And then of course, when the 80s came along, like he was put up on this pantheon next to like Kubrick and stuff, which he does belong there. I'm not going to say he doesn't. So I mean, it's just and then but more recent years, a lot of people have tried tearing him down for his womanizing ways or whatever you want to call it. But I don't know if there's ever been any proof that he actually, you know, did anything other than some creepy, just the way he kind of treated people and you'd have to
bit of a voyeur.
Yes, and not only that, just the way he manipulated people mentally, right? Like it's not like it's so much a mental mind fuck, but he would really mentally abuse a lot of people around him, I guess is a way of putting it. It's really difficult to explain without seeing or hearing the stories. Like there's movies out there about it. Even some of those movies I think might even be taking it a bit too far, like maybe a bit more salacious than it really was, perhaps. But
and he did say they should be treated like cats. So, but a great director, and he did make some great films. And you know, everybody geniuses have those idiosyncrasies. So, what can you say?
Exactly. Duck Nation. Not like I'm trying to. No, But he would to answer the question. Yes, he would be canceled by today's standards.
He would be.
But Friedkin would be too, and so would some of these other guys.
Well, you've seen what they tried to quietly do with Friedkin's movie that we'll never get an answer to now.
Well, now we know why he didn't say anything, because he was probably near death at that point.
Yeah, he couldn't say anything, sadly. But I do recommend Rook. I totally think you would like Rear Window, especially if you like that movie you watched earlier. I mean, it's in a different vein.
I don't remember much of the Shia LaBeouf one, to be honest, other than he screams a lot like he does in everything. So I'll probably be looking forward to Rear Window by comparison.
Rear Window is in a different vein than that, but it's a good old classic, solid film. You know, he's just this man, with a broken leg, laid up in his apartment, just happened to look around. And the thing is, not only do you get interested into like the murder mystery, whether it is or isn't, but you like get interested into all the, like you become like him as well as the movie goes on, because it's like masterful directing. It's like you get interested into all of his other neighbors that he spies on, like the lonely woman who can't get a date, like the blonde ballerina who's trying to find love, like, and the
you're kind of playing a guessing game with people's lives that you don't know, but you see.
Yeah, you kind of just like, and you don't really.
You don't do a window into their lives and see what's up, sort of.
Yeah, and you don't really hear them at all. You just get to see them play out whatever they're doing in their little apartment building. And the movie, I mean, it's great, and like everybody has a great role in this, so it's a pretty solid flick, and I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I really enjoyed it. And the 4K, I do recommend the 4K. It looks great. It looks great on the 4K, and it's got some pretty good, decent features. If you didn't get the box set, I think it's the same one in the box set they have, but it's got some good ones. Conversation with the screenwriter, pure cinema through the eyes of the master, breaking barriers, the sound of Hitchcock, Truffaut. Interview excerpts, all kinds of things. So, yeah, I recommend it. It's a good movie, great movie.
Yeah, I got the Hitchcock box set.
Yeah,
I kind of almost wish I'd have waited, but whatever. Because the only one that hasn't been released now separately would be. I don't think actually is any of them left over now.
No, they've all been released separately.
Yeah, because we were talking about that, like when you were talking about this, because you're like, yeah, I don't really want to buy all of them, but blah blah blah. Because you already didn't you say you already ordered the Psycho set? Or you going to?
I already ordered.
Yeah, like because it's like you might as well, because I think they were all separately or anyway. So yeah, you're right. Never mind.
Yeah, so like the first box set, I don't plan on picking up. The other ones,
I wish I just waited. Was what I was gonna say, because I hate him being in that fucking book. I fucking hate it.
I know, and I much prefer the I was really happy to actually get this with a slip cover.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I would have just bought Rear Window and the other two, and then waited if I'd known.
Rear Window, Birds, and Vertigo. I mean, like the first box set had the best Hitchcock movies. Not that the other ones aren't good. It's just
we're getting a volume 3, but volume 3 is ones that I know even less of that I can remember.
Exactly.
I figured they should have shaved off two or so off that first box set, threw in some of the less, if they really wanted to sell more and keep people intrigued, is you only put 1 or 2 of his big titles in a box set, and then you put it with 4 of the other ones you don't know so well.
Right.
That would sell better, because otherwise, yeah, you're getting now past the second one. I bought the second one, but there's only like a couple of those movies that I've even heard of. And the second, out of the first 2 box sets, you've really got everything you need. So this third one, I don't think there's any titles in that third one I need at all. Because I think other than like North by Northwest or whatever, that's like the only one of his that or did I say it wrong? Is it South by Southwest? I can't remember now.
I think it's North by Northwest.
Yeah, that's the only one of his bigger ones that hasn't been released yet, to my recollection. So, like, is that the only one they're saving for another box set or what? Because at this point, that's all that's really left, in my opinion. I mean, sure, people have their lesser known favorites, but I mean, to me, I don't care. I just soon buy them on a Blu-ray at this point. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. I think we all know Psycho, Rear Window, Vertigo, The Birds.
North by
That's
Northwest.
Those
are the 5 that everybody knows. The Stranger in Train, maybe Dial M for Murder, but those aren't not even Universal titles from my recollection. Yeah. Like, that's the thing, is some of his other ones aren't even around Universal, so they don't even have access to them.
Which is funny, is like, even though this is a Universal release, it says a Paramount Pictures. It's got the Paramount Pictures.
Well, it's because he had the Paramount deal at that time, but then he retained the rights after that. So then he sold his catalog, I believe, to Universal was what happened.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So yeah, like, he had a deal, and that was the thing. Paramount did not. They were pissed about Psycho at first. Psycho is one of those weird movies. Strangers on Train's another good one too that we should. Yeah, there's a few good ones, but I think, like I said, Dial M for Murder, I think, is a Warner picture, if I'm not mistaken, because I have the 3D version of that. And trying to think of some of his other bigger ones. But no, we really kind of got most of them other than North by Northwest at this point. Really.
Exactly. Yeah.
But, Dial M for Murder. I mean, I got that in 3D. What do I want the 4K for?
So exactly, that is exactly, and yeah, I just had a good time with Rear Window. It was really good, and I enjoyed, the 4K looked great, so no complaints there for me. And like I said, I'll probably just buy the one separate from now on. So
Marnie's in the second box set, Tyrell, but you probably knew that already. Anyway, go ahead, Steven.
Yeah. All right. Now, has anybody actually seen the remake to Rear Window? A legit remake with Christopher Reeve.
I did see it when it was on television, but it's
so
been
so
fucking long.
Exactly.
That I mean, unless it's on YouTube somewhere, I definitely would watch it. I do remember it being really well done. And I remember them making a huge deal out of it at the time when it did come out, because it was one of the few more well-received Hitchcock remakes, I guess you could say. Have they ever put that out on disc yet, Steven? Do you know? Or
not that I've seen.
Actually, it does have a DVD. I went looking because I was going to buy it to go along with this after I watched it, and it's out of print. You can't find it.
So was it Christopher Reeves when he was in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was one of the only movies he made afterwards. So yeah.
Yeah, it was. That was why it was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, and it's from what I remember watching on TV myself, it was pretty good.
It was kind of a woke movie before a woke movie. It was like, okay, Christopher Reeve stuck in a wheelchair now. What can we have him do?
That's sad.
It's sad, but it worked.
It did.
Especially, like, you think Jimmy Stewart. Shit, yeah, Christopher Reeve could play that. Whatever movie it was. Like, they're two very... Sure, they don't have the same cadence or any of that kind of shit, but they do have the same qualities, and that's what you need, right? You need the type of actor that he was. Christopher Reeve's the same guy, because you trust him, you believe him, you want to see it through. You're with the character, just like you would be. I almost called him Patrick Stewart, Jimmy Stewart. It would be a much different movie. Short, there was a murder.
I'm sorry,
Earl Grey.
I'm sorry. I didn't stop it. I wasn't quick enough. I might as well fucking die.
Yeah, he was pretty good at Smallville.
Yeah, he was in Smallville too. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Moving on.
What do you got for your second pick, Runner Jr.?
Okay, I'm going to try to go more obscure than even before and throw in a curveball. And it's one
Debbie
that
does Dallas.
I've only seen it once. It was one of those ones that was on Netflix when they were earlier on. They had a lot of horror films and comedies, I think. And I remember liking it, but I haven't seen it since I saw it. It's probably actually not that good, but let's
That is
see.
one of the weirdest things
I'm wondering.
seen.
I'm just curious if you guys have seen it.
I haven't
is
seen
the
it
main
since I
thing.
saw it.
I haven't seen it since
So
I
let's
saw it.
see. Sex and Death 101 with Simon, what's his face? Baker.
Simon Baker and Winona Ryder.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's basically
never heard of it.
This dude gets an email. He gets an email, and it has like a list of every woman he's ever slept with and people he ever will sleep with. It's like 101 women. And he's like, "Oh, sweet! What is this? Whatever." It's like some funny thing. He ends up realizing that women they sleeping with. He's like, "Hey, I recognize all these names now. What the hell? I just met the person that was on that list." And then he's like, "All right, it's like there's like some type of God intervention at some point. He talks to angels or something. There's like some other chick as well. The chick in the black right here. She like is going around killing men that do sex crimes or something simultaneously while he's banging all these chicks. And then he's like, it's all good at first, but then it's like, man, I actually don't want to have sex with some of these people. And then they're like, nope, well, they're on the list, so you're going to no matter what. And then I forget what happens. Like somehow he ends up having sex when he doesn't want to. And then it gets to her and he thinks he's going to die after he has sex with her because she kills people or something. And then I think they end up having kids or something. And it's not one I actually recommend, but it was a funny one from the time.
It was you had me intrigued there until you got to the end, and you're like, "It's not one I'd recommend."
Yeah, but I owned it
because as I'm talking about it, I'm like, "Yeah, it's like one of those ones that would be on TV, and then you'd be like, oh, that was on. All right, next."
Wow, it's
So,
2007.
Yeah,
and
it's like a skit.
Patton Oswalt's in it.
It's like funny
yay.
it's funny as a skit. I think. I'm trying to think. There's something else that reminded me of, but maybe it was trying to be almost not like Bruce Almighty, but like he has a scene similar, like where he talks to God or something. But he's talking to Patton Oswalt, who's like an angel. I think. Oh God, it's worse than I remember now. I could have just went with Whiplash, but then you guys said that's a runner movie.
I'd rather talk Whiplash than that. You had me up with Patton Oswalt and everything, and now you're like second guessing owning it.
Well, because I was trying to pick ones that you guys haven't seen, and so I was like, this is one that's in the thing.
Okay, so, now this makes sense to me because the concept is interesting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I think so.
I'm looking up this person's filmography. They're a writer turned director.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this would be their second film they directed. Their first one was Happy Campers. But this is the stuff that this director has written. Keep in mind, Heathers, The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, Hudson Hawk, Batman Returns, Demolition Man.
Yeah.
And then he writes Happy Campers and directs it. Then he doesn't do shit until Sex and Death 101, which is like 5-6 years later. And then I guess he wrote Vampire Academy. And that's it since. He hasn't done anything since.
It's so one of his last
Victim
films,
is a TV movie he did as well. And then
I'd be curious what you guys think of it. But
it sounds intriguing, but it sounds like it was poorly executed.
It, like as I'm remembering, and I'm remembering a lot more of it now. So it's like it's like one of those, if there was a good SNL skit like that was like 10 minutes long or something. That's what this seems like it would be better as. But the whole movie, I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't really,
because it reminded me when you were telling me. It reminded me of that era of there was a game online that I used to play all the time. I can't remember what it was called, but it was literally all you were doing was coming up with film pitches, right? And you would take all this random stuff you would get, and it had all the access to like pictures, and you like make up fake posters and stuff, and then people would vote on your ideas, right? And this reminds me of that. Like people are kind of coming up with these like interesting ideas, and one of the ones I come up with was called Fortune Cookie or Misfortune, and basically it was like Jim Carrey's in this movie and he gets a fortune cookie. He's the most unluckiest guy in the world. Everything goes wrong for him every day of his life until he gets a fortune cookie one day that says he is now the luckiest man in the world. Okay, so then everything changes around. It's a very Bruce Almighty kind of movie, right? Like, but like, and then he loses the fortune thing and everything goes wrong, so he figures out that it's all connected with the little piece of paper that he had the whole time. But it's like one of those kind of movies. That's what this reminded me of when you were going through the breakdown, is like when we would sit there and all compete to get votes on our movie pitches. Yeah, that's what it's like. It's a movie. It works better as a movie pitch than it does in execution. Yeah, once you start thinking about Fortune Cookie like as a movie, it really only kind of carries itself so far as a concept. We've already seen it with Liar Liar and Bruce Almighty, basically. Yeah.
Well, it's the kind of thing where I'm remembering the movie, but I don't remember anything funny. Like, I don't remember any joke. It's just more like, wow, I get to sleep with these chicks. Oh no, I might die at the end. That's kind of the premise. Like, I'm trying to remember anything funny.
They'll die happy.
Yeah, just like
I think there's one guy that realized that he was going to get killed by the chick. He's like, "Oh, why you kill me? I'm a nice guy." She's like, "Okay," and then he like accidentally kills himself.
See, like it doesn't sound like it's. That's what I'm saying. It sounds like this writer got themselves into a great concept and didn't know how to write themselves out of it.
Yeah, especially considering they made Heathers, Batman Returns. Well, not made them, but wrote them, and Demolition Man. All of them. I mean,
yeah. And those are very high concept. Well, especially Demolition Man is a high concept. Heathers is a high concept.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this guy's good at coming up with concepts, but I mean, even Batman Returns, you could argue, I don't know if he came up with a story idea, but it's honestly the most solid of those 4 films as far as its plot by the villain and all that business. Yeah.
Like you said, like it sounds like he gets good concept and then takes like the director and everybody to come together to complete it. He's just not the good director to complete it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it sounds like.
I think, there's maybe one funny thing. I think one of the names he thought was like a hot rich chick, but then he ends up it's in a dark room and then is like her grandma or something.
See, and this movie sounds like something he would have come up with after watching 2 movies together. Something with like So I Married an Axe Murderer when he was drunk one night, and then he woke up the next day and thought he came up with the concept by himself.
Yeah,
but he just really mixed 2 movies together. Like it's really what it is. Like he watched Minority Report and then and then fell asleep. But yeah,
I have another when I did my next pick. There was like these ones were ones I found from Netflix, like when they're early streaming, like and they just had kind of random movies on there, sort of. I'll do that one next, which has Chris Pratt in it, which I've talked about before. But I'll save that for my 3rd pick, and I'll see what you guys think about that one.
All right, we'll get to it. All right, deleted scenes. What do you got for us?
Well, seeing as I am Winona Ryder's unrequited love slave, I gotta think I have Sex and Death 101 around here somewhere. So I gotta go look for that one then.
Okay.
All right, but my next choice tonight is also a bit different because I'm not recommending the movie per se, but I am recommending the lead performance, and this is The Unholy.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
It is executive produced by Sam Raimi.
Mm-hmm. Where's Runner?
Sam Raimi. Wow,
I was just gonna call. Is Steven gonna be old Runner now or what? No, I'm just kidding.
Old man Runner.
I was born in a Best Buy.
Little did we know he had invented a time machine and then got trapped in the past.
Never actually left Best Buy. He still lives there today.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It is about a disgraced journalist played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh.
And he winds up at this kind of shitty tabloid because no one else will hire him because he made up a story and he got caught making up the story. So he's kind of unhireable. He winds up out in the middle, literally out in the middle of nowhere. And he gets involved in this story of a deaf girl who gains healing powers after supposedly being visited by the Virgin Mary. Or has she? You know, is it an angel or is it a demon? Spoiler alert, it's a demon. You know, and it's basically Jeffrey Dean Morgan trying to save this girl from and eventually the town from a demon for about an hour and a half. And it's one of those movies that you believe what's going on because the lead actor believes it's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
unreliable
really,
narrator.
Yeah, something like that. He's really good in this movie, and and this is about the time he was on Walking Dead, playing Negan, and he is very un-Negan-like in this. You know, this is a complete 180 from that character, and he makes it's one of those movies where the lead performance makes it work.
Okay.
And even if you don't like the movie, and like I said, I'm kind of so on it. It's well made, and like I said, it's an hour and a half, so it doesn't outstay its welcome. It's basically The Exorcist. It's basically an Exorcist ripoff, but like I said, it's got a really strong lead performance in it, and the girl's very good. I'm blanking on her name just at the moment.
Is it just a woke Exorcist since it's made now, though? Is that the problem? Like, instead of the
there's
famous
nothing...
line, "Your mother, it's your father sucks cocks in hell." I mean,
no,
I just had to throw that joke in there.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
It's not woke at all, actually, which is one of the things that's really good about it. For a recent movie, it's not woke. Carrie Elways shows up in the third act, kind of basically playing Carrie Elways like he usually does. But it's one of those movies where if somebody said they liked it, I wouldn't try and talk them out of it. But if they said they didn't, I wouldn't try and talk them out of it either. It's basically like a streaming movie. But like I said, I like the lead performance in it, and that's what got me through the movie. So if nothing else, watch it for Jeffrey Dean Morgan because he's really good.
Right. Sounds good. You and Rook coming in with movies that you can't recommend, but you like. So
we're really trying to curveball you these days.
So a couple curveballs there.
Pretty much the goal now. It's just the ones you haven't seen before. Maybe.
I basically bought the movie sight unseen. I just got curious about it, and it's not a great movie, but at the same time, it's not bad either. It's kind of like that little gray zone between good and bad. But it's not good, it's not bad, it's okay.
Been there. Well, I've seen some movies like that. Been there. And I gotta say, I appreciate both of you guys coming with movies that we've never heard of. So you're doing a good job there. That's what it's all about here on the Physical Media Show.
Heck yeah, our pleasure. My goal is to always challenge you with something you haven't seen before, but it's never going to be a great recommendation because you guys have seen everything. That's great. If it's great, you've seen it. So
we'll see where you're getting us is like with these newer movies like that, because we haven't seen a lot of those newer type of movies. Well, I haven't. So
yeah.
Well, no, I just had to joke that it was woke just so I could make that joke.
It was a good joke.
I knew it probably was. I just had to make that stretch because I'm just sitting on it for a while. The whole of like 30 seconds, I'm saying it. I don't give a fuck.
I gotta do it. Do it.
Your father sucks cocks in hell.
How do you know what my father does on the weekend? Anyways, but any final words, Stephen, before we head over?
That's a bad thing.
Yeah.
No, but kind of commenting on Tom's joke about wokeness. It's not. We don't see very many movies these days where they actually let like a white male lead save the damsel in distress, so to speak, by the end of it. And we don't get that a lot these days. And this movie gives it to us. So yeah,
that's cool.
Cool. All right, Tom.
Nice little redemption arc for the character.
Good.
I remembered I had another title, by the way. So I do have 4 picks.
All right. So let's go to you. What do you got for this pick?
Well, I should have just done all the Chucky ones together, but now I got, of course, the rest of the Chucky ones.
There's more.
I already got them here.
No, just kidding.
Yeah. We have Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky. Yes. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are curious. Are these even worth upgrading? Because they were shot in digital in 2K.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay.
The 4Ks actually look a lot better than the old Blu-rays. I was surprised. In fact, just in the opening shots, after you get past the opening bits of Curse of Chucky, like in the first scenes where we meet Nika, for instance, when her mother is painting, On the Blu-ray, there's a lot of crushing and digitization behind her where the blacks just don't quite mix well with all the brights going on. In this 4K edition, you can make out that there's a fucking wall there.
Oh, good. Yeah, there's always something a little fuzzy
That's
with
where I'm saying, like, oh my
footage
God,
on
leaps
that.
and bounds, even though this is from a 2K up convert, basically. You're seeing so much more resolution than before that it makes that much of a difference.
I thought it was a stylistic choice that they did.
No, it really, well, they shot them digitally. And this is kind of the thing. And this has been my thing with a lot of buying a lot of movies that are mastered in 2K and in this day and age is doesn't really make a difference. 9 times out of 10, especially like the Marvel movies, for instance, they all look muddy and soft, in my opinion, because they're just basically 2K up converts.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with these are 2K up converts, but they must have went back to the original files and that were maxed out to the, to the max as far as bit rate. And you can tell there's just that much resolution difference. And now, is it enough to go out and buy them right now? No, I'd say wait till the sale. But yeah. And these are the opposites of Seed of Chucky, but they're understandably the unrated and only unrated cuts, because that's the versions that I think went to streaming and such.
Yeah, anyway. I think that's only like I got the Blu-ray of
which I don't even know why there's a rated cut.
Yeah, it's like because that's the way it was released to begin with, right?
And what's dumb is the rated cut doesn't have the Andy ending tag on Kurtz.
For real?
Yeah,
that leads all into the next movie.
Exactly. Oh, we lost Steven. He'll be back.
Yep.
Man overboard.
Yeah. I did like Curse of Chucky. I can't say I was too happy with Cult of Chucky.
No, yeah, I'll tell you guys what. Like, I actually liked Cult of Chucky when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
Watching it again now, I don't like it as much, and I think I know why. And that's because I hated the second season of the Chucky show.
Oh.
So I think because knowing that all leads to that is why, and it's really more so rooted in what they did in the second season of the Chucky show. Because I know that the fan, look, there's a separation in the fans when it comes to Chucky. Some fans, they go up to Bride of Chucky and that's it. They don't like him getting a family. They don't like anything they've done since then. They don't like multiple Chuckies and all that.
Their eras of Chucky.
Yeah, I don't like the multiple Chucky.
Yeah.
I don't mind the Tiffany thing. And
I liked how the series handled the multiple Chuckies in the second season up until the very end. It pissed me off.
Wait.
And there's some
like
woke
multiple
shit.
Possessed Chuckies?
Yes, he figured out how to split himself up into multiple bodies. And that's where Cult of Chucky comes in. Yes.
Oh, no.
And it's actually kind of a unique concept because I like it because you get basically different little Chuckies running around and they all have their little unique kind of personalities at the same time. And, also it gives him the opportunity to jump into Nika's body, and that being played by Brad Dourif's daughter. I mean, she is fucking amazing doing her dad, right? Like, she is her dad. She's lived with her dad her whole life. She can do the voice. She can do the laugh. She can do the mannerisms. Like, even when she's like, Tiff, just the way she says it. And she even has the laugh down perfect. Like, everything just like, so that part about it, I like. So there's, what I was let down by is because you lead up through all this shit that goes, because Cult of Chucky basically sets up the show, the TV show. And the first season was great.
Yeah, I've heard I should give it a shot by some people. I should give it a shot.
Second season starts off woke, gets really fucking good, and then falls off a fucking cliff. Especially once you realize the gimmick of the second season. Because the gimmick of the second season is every episode is paying homage to a classic horror film.
Mm.
And what I really hated is the way they ended up treating the multi-Chuckies by the end and what they do with one of the specific characters. Not to get into too much of spoilers, but I really loved that they have, like, the kids get the idea to take one of the multi-Chuckies and they brainwash him into being a real good guy.
Okay.
So you have Sweet Chucky.
Oh.
So he's like hanging out with the kids and helping them against the other Chuckies. And it's like, it's that part I like, but then it falls off a cliff, especially when they reintroduce Glenn and Glenda, because they're actual people now. And it's like, first of all, you had it set up to where one was a guy, one was a girl. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But in this, it's played by two women. One, and both of them are completely flip-flopped on their binary shit and all this stuff. It's like, no. If you were going to do this, it should have been funny. Like, you do hire twins that are a boy and girl, and you have the boy wanting to be the girl and the girl wanting to be the boy. That would be playing into what Glenn and Glenda was all about. And in this,
that's easy comedy to do.
I hate this version of Glenn and Glenda. They fucked up Glenn and Glenda big time because it was perfectly set up for what it could be and should be. And in this version of it, they really fucked it all up. So that was a big aspect of it I hated. And because I really love that part of the show is that they really did try to bring all the different, avenues together. You've got Andy, you've got what's her face with Andy, Kyle.
Oh yeah, Kyle.
The only person we haven't seen yet is Chris Sarandon and his mother at this point. And I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Sarandon pops up in the third season somehow. Like, that's how deep they have gotten into the lore. And that's what I love about the series. But they really fucked it up in the second season. So I'm hopeful for the third season, but I don't know if it's going to be any good. And that's my Chucky rant there. I can recommend.
Have they announced how many they're going to make of? Chucky?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get much farther in the third season because I don't think the ratings have been so good for the second one.
Well, it sounds like it wouldn't be good if they drag it out to be so many seasons.
It could go for a while. That's the sad
end
part.
on a solid note. I mean, like, people feel that way with Cobra Kai, which I think is great as well. But I mean, I feel like the longer you do it, the more chances you have to drag it through the mud at some point.
To a point, you're right, and that's kind of what happened with the second season in a way, especially the way the first season was left on a cliffhanger. And you also had some characters that were made in woke time by an openly gay man who's been openly gay since the 80s.
Right.
And he is the father of Chucky. So he's been the only guy besides the producer. These two guys are the only two guys who've been a part of the franchise the whole way through. And he actually introduces a couple of characters that are gay and they don't feel forced until the second season. And the second season goes off a woke fucking cliff. And it's like, you're a little late to this game. You went and had, because the whole through line through the first season, they're gay, but it's not a big deal because it's not the main focal point. Like, they even have a funny scene where he says something to Chucky about, I thought you'd have a problem because I'm gay. He's like, are you fucking kidding me? I got a kid that's trans. I may be a murderer, but I'm not a fucking monster.
Yeah.
Like,
I heard some people.
So he gets it, the absurdity of it. But by the second season, it becomes the first episode is completely about their gay relationship. And the way he treated Glenn and Glenda, I really feel like went over the woke board. Because they do introduce another new character in the second season I really did like. And it sucks because it had so much potential. But I'm hopeful, but I'm not going to be surprised if the third season sucks ass. And that's all I have to say for Chucky for now until then.
All right. That's good. That's good. But I do plan on getting at least Bride of Chucky. Like I said, to me, that's where it sort of ends for me. Not that I don't mind watching Seed or Curse. I wasn't really too big of cult at all, really. I'm one of those guys that doesn't like the multiple Chucky things, and I haven't seen the TV series.
Yeah.
But
the TV series managed to make it make more sense, and he's got a plan, and it's leading to a plot.
Yeah,
like he's got a whole truckload of them that he's sending out to all these orphanages and shit. Like he's got like this huge grand scheme now. Like it's.
I saw Curse of Chucky. I thought that was like a decent attempt at keeping it within the universe without.
That was their first. Yeah, way of bringing two worlds together and like kind of like, okay, we're doing something new. Plus, we're going to bring back, a couple of the old characters and the original characters. Like you have the tag at the end with Andy, and that sets up, like I said, it seemed like
he has the box. He opens it. He doesn't he acts like he leaves it alone. But then he's like, I'm going to sneak on him. Then he's ready. He's like, want to play? Andy, hi. It's like, yes. So that was fun.
Yeah,
I love the part, and that's the bits of cult though I really love is the opening with Andy is great.
Yes,
that
is when he's on the date. It was funny too.
Yeah, and then he goes home and he has a doobie with fucking Chucky.
He's grown, Andy.
It's just you and me again tonight.
That's funny.
And then of course he fucks with him and shit. I love that. But the third season, to answer your question, Brian, I don't know if it can. The two problems that the third season or the second season created, I don't know if you can get out of those. Because it's too late. Like you spent too much of the first episode around this gay couple that you don't really like. Shouldn't be the point of the show. And then the way that they treated Glenn and Glenda and the way it ends, it all is kind of like it might as well have been the end.
Right.
Unfortunately. But we'll see. Anyway.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Kind of going a little off track a bit. I've noticed that, especially with commercial television over the last few years, there will be these really great first seasons. And then season 2 will just go straight into woke. It's like this huge bait and switch. I'm thinking of a show called Prodigal Son that was on Fox. Has this great first season. And then it becomes like an anti-cop show.
I think it all has to do with like they don't expect something to hit, and when it hits, then they try to do that.
Yeah. It's fucking annoying though, because some really good shows I've quit watching some really good shows because they went woke.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, and it's just too bad. I don't even know why they went that route, because it's like they already handled it and got it out of the way, and then it's like, oh no, we're gonna double down on it now. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Okay.
I just want to see Chucky kill somebody.
Exactly. That's why I like watching Chucky. It's fun to see this.
No, he like completely takes a back seat in that first episode of the second season. Like, I don't even think he's in it outside of the recap from the first season. It almost is completely revolved around their gay relationship, and you're just like, come on, get past it already. And I said the same. It's like, even if it was a straight relationship, I'd be saying this same thing, because I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I just want to see Chucky kill somebody.
Exactly. That's what we want to see, Chucky.
I saw him say The Rookie with Nathan Fillion. I was like, I haven't been. Oh, the
TV show Rookie.
It does. It did.
I heard
really
it did go off a cliff. I heard that show went off a cliff.
They all went off a cliff. SWAT went off a cliff.
Yeah, well, the first few episodes were so bad that it took me a while to figure out the gimmicks, that I can't even tell you what movie it was the first episode was trying to emulate. Right?
Wow.
Like, I can tell you the rest, but I can't tell you that one.
That's kind of my point, where like TV shows, I wish they had like an idea for when they are going to end, like officially, so it's like they can lead whatever up to their ending and have it end satisfactorily and not drag shit out. And it's like, you're done. Okay, you're done. Good. Doesn't matter if it's your last season did better than all of them. Good. Then have it end on a great note. Thank you.
Like, and I might have said this when I reviewed the second season here, because I remember bringing it on. But like, the worst episode, the one that I'm talking about, where it really fucks up Glenn and Glenda, is actually based on Knives Out.
Oh
no.
That's bad.
And it took me, I couldn't figure, I thought it was Clue, and then I watched the making of it or whatever, and he brings up, no, this is one, because he brings up the whole point. I'm like, yeah, I got the gimmick. It was pretty obvious after like the third episode or whatever. And then he's like, yeah, then we had this one and this one and this one, and then Knives Out for this episode, because I was a huge fan of what Ryan Johnson said there, and I'm just like,
oh. People need to stop giving Ryan Johnson praise. Just stop.
I'm not even. I'm not. Like,
and it's so obvious once you realize it, because they even have like the Mexican Mexican like I almost said waitress. What do you call it? A maid or whatever in episode 2. And I was just thinking maid, all that kind of stuff. The one guy's like, okay, it's got to be Clue, or something like that. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, that or it's some Hitchcock movie that I don't know. And I didn't really kind of think about it until I watched the thing. And he's like, yeah, I was a huge fan of Knives Out. And I'm like, oh, fuck that.
Next we're gonna emulate Scream 5.
Oh, God, no.
No shit. Don't get me started on that. What were you gonna say, Steven? I'm sorry, you were saying something there.
No. I was agreeing with you. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll come to me.
Which is sad, because Don Mancini actually thanked me for sticking up for him during the whole remake days. Like, he sent me a DM on Twitter.
Oh man, that sucks. But
I've been trying to get a hold of him ever since, but he hadn't answered me back. But yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, this is a 4-movie set, and I'm pretty sure everybody on the panel has seen these movies. And I understand if some of you do not like these movies. I completely get it. But I just had a hankering to watch these, and that would be the American Pie movies. Speaking of movies that are unwoke, but yeah, I just had a hankering to watch them.
We're supposed to be getting a new one of those eventually.
Yeah, that's what I'm really hoping they don't do that, because I looked up after watching them, and I looked up the writer that's going to do it. Oh, it's a woke female writer.
Oh, I thought they were gonna do something. Maybe it's not what I thought it was gonna. I heard they were gonna do.
I heard. I looked it up when I saw it, so maybe they'll do something else differently.
Because I thought the original makers who work on Cobra Kai now were saying, "Oh, it's about time for American Pie to make a return."
Oh, really? That would be great.
Hinting that, yeah,
If that was them. Because what I looked up,
Yeah.
I saw it was some like Indian woman, and she was like, I was like, no, please God, no. But yeah, I had not seen these movies in freaking years. I just, for whatever reason, I wanted to watch them, and I gotta admit, American Pie and American Reunion, the first one and the last one, really hit differently for me this time.
better or worse.
Better. American Reunion.
I was gonna say that
are a
was one
lot
of the
better.
rare franchises. I didn't know if anybody else agreed with me or not. That actually got better.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
each movie got better.
Yes.
Like, it was like, how the fuck? Especially about that fourth one, I was expecting this movie's gonna suck.
Right? And the fourth one is so damn good. It is like that really should stop, please. Honestly, I kind of don't want them to go past that one because the American Reunion was so good, actually.
Well, it's
no,
like, what do you? Where else do you go from here, right? Like
Exactly.
American Funeral, like
The 20th reunion, or do like the Brady Bunch reunion, but with American Pie.
That's the problem with the American Reunion is they're celebrating their 13th high school reunion, their 13th year high school reunion, and it's clearly supposed to be their 20th. You know, I think they kind of rushed the gun on the American Reunion a little bit. But
they should have just made it their 20th, yeah.
Yeah, they should have just made it
10th, or
if they
just
would-
made up the difference and made it the
Yeah.
10th or whatever, or
Yeah.
15th.
They mention it one time that it's their 13th, and then it kind of
Which is
splays
weird
over.
because no school does that. It's either 5 or 10 years. They never
Exactly.
do it that much.
Exactly.
Like that's weird. Like a
And it's-
13th.
Yeah, it's clearly they're celebrating their 20th. But if they would have made this on the 20th, which would have been 2019, it would not have been the movie that it is. You would not have gotten what you got.
No, but you could have at least rounded it off one way or the other.
Yeah.
Back then, that's the thing is, if you notice movies back in the day, they used to kind of try and future-proof themselves a little bit, or they would fudge the times a lot of times, even if it had been like 5, it would have only been 2 years. They'll say 5 years since the last time this happened, or last year this happened, when clearly Kevin McAllister aged 3 years in between the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sort of. But
that was only last summer.
Yeah,
It was last Christmas, and now I'm 5 years older.
now I'm a teenager, but I'm only 10.
My voice is dropping as the movie moves on.
It's my prepubescent puberty. That's all.
They are freaking hilarious movies. Great sex gross out comedies. Like I said, the first one and the last one really hit differently because I was in high school when the first one came out, and like I was sitting there going, "God!"
I came out
just
like my sophomore or senior year, yeah.
sophomore year for me. And
So maybe it was my senior year because I think I'm a year older than you, ain't I?
Yeah, I'm 40, so.
Oh no, I'm 2 years older than you. I'm 43.
Yeah,
What year did the first one come out?
99.
Oh, that'd have been the year after I was out of high school. Okay. Why do I thought this come out when I was still in school?
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, I
feel
would have
like-
been
I feel like
technically in
American
college,
Pie-
but
I feel like it's the type of films that are the most enjoyable probably in around high school of whomever watches it ever. Like that's around the age that it hits the best or something, because that's when I loved it too when I watched American Pie. So
it was funny that Dan says that because after that movie, I'm like, we need a Stifler family reunion movie. is
That
what we
would be
needed.
awesome.
And we
That
got
would-
American Reunion next, but I'm like, okay, it's just them having a reunion. But like,
Yeah.
I'd love to see the Stifler family.
I would love to
reunion.
see that. Well, there's a whole thing which I don't think the set has, which I've been meaning to get forever. Like with part 2, there's a whole thing cut out of Stifler's dad, played by Chris Penn.
Yeah.
There's like a whole nother movie where they cut out a boatload of Chris Penn, and it was on one of the DVD sets where it's like it's like the thing they did like with Anchorman, where they made another movie out of Anchorman with all the deleted shit.
I didn't know about that for some reason. That
Yeah.
doesn't sound-
I didn't know. I've been searching for forever. I do not think it's actually on this set. I do not think it's on the set.
I
It's
don't.
on
I don't remember at all. And the second movie came out when I had my video store,
Well,
so I would remember that.
Yeah, which it's weird because I seen it one time at Walmart and I never bought it and I regretted it for never picking it up because I think it was only released
Weird.
after it came out, maybe possibly only at Walmart, maybe.
Maybe I see.
But
What
yeah,
you're
it's like
saying.
a whole chunk of the movie was cut out with Stifler's dad, and he was played by Chris
Huh.
Penn. So for part
Yeah,
2,
I wonder if it's on YouTube.
it might be. We'll have to look and see that. but like I was saying, like when I watched the first one, I immediately was transported back to high school and all the music and my friends and like I totally relate to Jim and Sherman, the Shermanator. That's me because I was a nerd, all that. And then like when I was watching American Reunion and seeing them as adults and having kids, and it's like that was like, oh, I'm like it messed me up. But like,
oh
movie,
yeah.
yeah, like
Well, I
messed me up.
compared the first movie to basically like American Graffiti meets Porky's.
Yes, very much.
Exactly.
And like the heart and the emotion and the comedy, it just gets to you and it makes you feel good. And each, like you said, each movie's good. I do think Stifler has a better arc in American Wedding than he does have in American Reunion.
Yeah,
but
he
has
kind
a
of takes over there. Yeah.
yeah. But Stifler has a better ending in American Reunion with Finch's mom, which is great and played by Rebecca De Mornay.
Oh shit!
I love it. I love it.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I know. She's like,
I got that box set too. I should watch that again. It's been
It's
a
a
while.
great box set because it's got all the.
I used to have all the DVDs, and I don't know what the fuck I did. I'm sure they were ones that got stolen on me.
Yeah.
But and I'm starting to figure out the ones that my exes stole on me because I've been looking for my Nightmare Before Christmas disc like crazy for the last week here.
Man.
And I know that's one that was. I'm surely at least one or two of my exes probably would have stole from me.
Yeah. But like
The part-
it is. Go ahead.
Sorry, the part that always hangs me up is in the first movie when he calls up his brothers, Casey Affleck, and he tells them about the book.
Yeah.
That's kind of the high school Kama Sutra, I guess.
Yeah.
For lack of a better terminology. And I'm like, who fucking told you that? Because my school had that, where a guy went and hid something sort of similar to it in the library. I know because I'm the guy who found it.
Yeah.
So I was that character. I'm like, how the fuck did you? Who told you that? I never told anybody that. Holy shit!
But yeah, that's like the only one they don't bring back is Casey Affleck in the reunion. Because like I was watching some of the special features, and he was like, if we're going to do the reunion, everybody has to come back, and everybody does come back except for Casey Affleck. He's the only one that does not come back, which. It works because he was never really, he was just Kevin's brother.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was like each movie is great, and they're just like though the first and the last one. By the time I got to the last movie, it was just like it's like these characters you grow to love, you grow to enjoy, you laugh with. They came out when I was young, when I was in high school, and I remember seeing them, in high school and thinking this is great. And then by the time you get to the reunion, you're like, son of a bitch, what happened to the years? This is so good. It was such a good, it truly is such a good ending. I felt that it was such a better movie now than I did. And I think that plays into the whole thing, like going back after 20 years legitimately and seeing the American Reunion and knowing that it's sort of set up that way, even though there's a 13th reunion. It really works. It really plays better. And I mean, like, you really could get away with some of the stuff they do. Like when the 18-year-old girl who wants to bang Jim and she takes her top off in his car and everything. And, you got that. And Stifler taking a shit in the cooler. That is hilarious. And it just all works. And, like, when I'm watching the first two, I always thought, man, Jim should have ended up with Nadia. And then by the time you get to wedding and then like reunion, you go, no, they made the right choice with Michelle. It's a good thing they brought her back and he ended up marrying her. That it worked. It was a better relationship, and but it is fun. Yeah, the Stifler dance off with Eric Kramer in the American Wedding is freaking hilarious, and that's what I said. Stifler has a better arc in American Wedding, and he does better stuff. But in the American Reunion, he gets a good ending. But yeah, like you read into that though, Eugene Levy is great. He's great as the dad, and it really, really works when they show up at his house and his wife is gone, and then Jim has sort of become the dad to Eugene Levy, telling him what stuff like he was telling him. So, I think by the time they got to American Wedding, they realized it was mostly just the guys that people, Jason Biggs and Stifler, was really who they were coming to see, honestly. So I think they didn't want to spend all the money on that. And actually, when they got the girls back for the last movie, they paid them less money than anybody. So even Chris Klein got paid less money in the American Union and some of the other ones. But yeah, the good movies. I just had a hankering to watch them. I had not probably seen them in 10 years myself. So yeah, that's it from that set.
Nice.
Yeah, they hold up really well. They actually really hold up really well, and I would put them, like Tom said, I would put them in the vein of like the Porky movies and American Graffiti and stuff. They came at a time where like there wasn't stuff like that being made, and they kind of took off.
Right.
Yeah, it was good like nostalgic and newer thing all in one.
It was also from a much more innocent time.
Yes, very much.
We'll just tell your mom that we ate the whole thing.
That's like the only real difference is because like this Blu-ray contains the unrated and rated sets. Is like with the rated version, he's in the corner banging the pie. With the unrated version, he's laying on top of the table banging the pie with his butt out. So that's really, there's no big differences. But these contain.
Honestly, I think the rated version is funnier. The way it handles it.
It is.
It's the unrated goes just a little too overboard. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder why she didn't. I would assume because January Jones in
you got Mrs. Chris Pratt in that movie too, right? Isn't she the band camp lady?
No, that's.
Am I mixing up the two actresses?
You're mixing up the actresses.
Okay.
She was from Buffy, the TV series, and My Stepmother's an Alien, and a bunch of.
Is that the same chick?
The mom, Buffy's mom from the show?
No, the Jim marries Willow, the red-haired chick.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Yeah, she's okay.
Yeah, Allison Hannigan.
Allison Hannigan.
Oh, Allison Hannigan. Who was Chris Pratt married to then?
Anna Faris.
Yeah.
Anna Faris. Okay.
The,
yeah.
Yeah. My doppelganger's in the chat.
I know.
Chris, yes, I am 40 years old, and I will take 22. I will take that. I will take that. Look.
There's a scroll in the chat. That's not me. I am the real runner. I am runner now.
Speaking of which,
runner now.
Let's go to you, runner now. What's your final pick or whatever pick we're doing?
Well, I'm actually kind of glad that you picked American Pie because I feel like this film is like a not as good as American Pie at all. American Pie is classic kind of a thing.
Yeah.
This is Deep in the Valley, which has Chris Pratt around when before he was like super popular.
Oh, I just heard about this movie recently. That's funny you brought it up.
Well, it's funny because it was one of my first movie reviews that I did on my channel that like got 4,000 views, and I was like, "What?" Wow. And it was like such a rare movie. Like nobody's talked about it. Nobody knows about this film, and it's like a funny one because it's basically the way that they put it, the way that the director puts it is it's like The Last Action Hero meets Bill and Ted, or like as far as like these two guys are hanging out, they go into a porn booth, and then they get transported into a porn universe. But it's not like a super sexualized one. It's like more of the goofy, bunny house or something kind of ones or something where they have more comedic things, car wash, whatever. It's like, I think American Pie is more sexual with the stuff that they show and do and stuff. This is just like some funny humor with it. And it's got a weird cast in it as well. There's like Kim Kardashian.
Sounds like a reverse Barbie movie, actually.
This one's enjoyable, and I think it's on Prime for free. But there's so many weird things about the film that I'm going to make a video about it. I made one before, but I didn't do as much research on it at the time. They've called this different titles. They've had like a lot of different like people, like all the women on it. Like none of them are important. Like literally, just the one in the cheerleading outfit is a main character. The rest are not. Like they're just in there.
What's funny is that's not even the most rarest of Chris Pratt movies. He's got some ski movie that's even harder to find than that.
Yeah, but it's like this is. I figure like I would think that nowadays because he's so popular and he's so known, he's like Christian boy. People wouldn't find the like, oh, he's in a sexual movie. What? And he's I always do a GIF sometimes where he like has a chick that's hugging him, and then somebody comes in and he just throws her off of him, just launches her onto the wall and whatever. And it's not like a super comedic like holy fuck that was hilarious, but it's still just funny in general. And like he's the horn dog, sex crazed one. His friend's more of a, I don't know. I like this girl, and the girl's like totally, bossing all over him, and that kind of a thing and whatnot. But it's like just some funny little jokes here and there. Like he was like, I think she's special, or I want to get her something special. Chris Pratt goes, well, why don't you get her, after he's like, you want something special, I want you to give her a retard, and then or something, some kind of joke with that. You can give her crayons and mess them all up in the face, or just some type of a off-putting joke that would just be like, hey, nowadays it's like some small stuff like that. But it's a funny one. Kim Kardashian's in it. Tracy Morgan's in it. Denise Richards is in it. They're in it more as cameos, though. They're not like main characters. The second guy who's in it, Brendan Hines, whatever. He's the second guy in it, basically the co-star. Or I guess he's the star. Chris Pratt is the co-star with it. But it's like, you know, they're in the prison and they're like, oh no, we're in the jail here. And then like the police officer comes there and I don't know, there's like an inmate fight and they can just open the door. They're like, oh, this isn't like a real world. It's a weird little world that they're in. And then it's just it's good humor. So if you guys haven't seen it, I recommend that you guys check it out. And yeah, it's on Amazon Prime to watch if you want to.
Cool. I might have to check it out.
This one I don't.
There's also, real quick, I will clarify, there are different versions of it. Do not watch the rated version. It's more just like, oh, there's not that much sexual things in it anyway. And it's like but it feels like they cover it up more on purpose in the rated one. That's unnecessary. It's just like, well, come on, dude, there's barely any scenes anyway. So the unrated, the one I have, I guess, yeah, it's unrated and bonus feature naked commentary, which you would think sounds good. No, let me explain. You would think that sounds
It's
good.
Chris Pratt naked, isn't it?
No. So what's stupid about it, I thought it was going to have the directors talk and do something. I didn't know what the naked part was going to be for. It's literally just they play the movie. Like you can hear it and everything. And then it'll like have a naked chick come across the screen and go, that's Chris Pratt. And that's Brendan Hines. And
you know what they're ripping off?
Like, I don't know. I had no idea what it was. There's only like 10 minutes of the commentary from the chick. And then it's playing the whole movie though, otherwise. And I was like,
Sex Drive had something similar to that too.
Maybe, but this didn't come off as that funny to me.
Yeah.
I was like, this wasn't that funny. So I was for the commentary.
You know what's funny is like, yeah, you know, we always give shit to Runner about bringing on Debbie Does Dallas, and that's literally kind of what you just brought on in a weird roundabout way.
You know what?
Not literally, but
yeah,
figuratively, I guess, a better way to put it.
You know what kind of reminds me of, like when you talk about the edited cuts, is the John Waters film with Tracy Ullman and Johnny Knoxville.
You think
not low down dirty shame, but it's something like that. It's
something because he had
no
to edit
good filthy something or other. Yeah, I can't remember the hell it's called.
Dirty Shame or something.
Dirty Shame, yeah.
He had to edit the crap out of it just so it can be released in the R-rated versions in Walmart and Blockbuster.
Yeah, and it's not even one of his better films.
Yeah,
actually.
it's not. No, it's not.
Well, it's like again, like I feel like even the unrated version would be more playable on TV than like a rated version of American Pie.
I get
like,
what you're saying.
I feel like the American Pie is far more sexual.
They had a lot of these kind of movies on Cinemax back in the day. In fact, this is what got us around to Miracle Beach that one time.
Yeah.
Where sometimes they'd have 2 or 3 edits of these movies where you'd have like the R-rated cut, the unrated cut, and the PG cut. And it's like, why even have and in some cases they're very different. In other cases, you're just like, yeah, no, why? Yeah. That's what's sad about the Miracle Beach is that they didn't have the other cut or 2 or whatever it was that were on.
Yeah,
because the other versions had more scenes in them. But anyway,
it's weird. And when it's like I realized, you know, I'm trying to take advantage of physical media that have these. That has like interviews and stuff that are not online anywhere. Which
that's a good point.
Surprised by. I was like, wow, there's interviews on here. So let me check this out.
Special features are important.
Yeah, that's something that I give physical media a hell of a lot more credit for now, because like I assumed that nowadays with the internet being so integrated with things that whenever they have a movie, if there were interviews and special features, they just kind of have that on the internet, but they don't. It's like exclusive to the DVDs. So it's like that gives a heck of a lot more value to a DVD, I would think, or to a disc or whatever.
And some people are figuring that out
in general. And so it's like, it was just nice to kind of see some of them chat about it, because some of them were like, you know, thinking it's more silly than others. Some was like, you know, oh, you know, there's some parts where this is pretty awkward, but it's, you know, kind of like this. We figured out a way to make it funny or something. And it was like, okay, like it's good to hear the people talk about it without it being, I guess, like on a talk show or something. I prefer hearing the interviews.
Exactly.
So
that's why special features are important, and I will continue to say that. And that's why physical media is important with the special features.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the only times I've checked out special features is like on Lord of the Rings. I really liked hearing how they made all the sound effects for stuff, and like, you know, the different plunging noises and different sources of water in different locations, like in the forest. And
whatnot to try to get different sounds, shooting arrows in different locations to try to get the sounds, getting a whole football stadium to stomp and make the sounds of them marching and stuff. So like that's details that I just I'm like, wow, that's freaking cool. Like, and that's just in the special features. Like, how are people not into that? I guess
Exactly.
to hear about this stuff.
Exactly. I mean, especially if you're in the film or want to become a filmmaker, that was like the greatest thing ever when you got DVDs.
That's
and
gonna
you got
come
see
up in
that
my
stuff.
next pick. I'll tell you that right now.
All right. All right.
That's good. But my pick was another one that none of you guys have seen, is it?
No, I've not seen
No,
that.
but I'm surprisingly aware of it for various reasons.
Well,
but
how'd you hear of it?
I can't get into that right now. I can tell you after the show, but like, no, I'm serious. I'll tell you why after the show. Like, I know it sounds all mysterious and weird, but like, that's also how I was in that same journey that I found out about that other movie of Chris Pratt's that I'm like, is like almost impossible to find for some reason.
Yeah, mine was thanks to
like,
Netflix. They just had a lot of movies on their queue when early on, and I was like, oh, this is a Chris Pratt. Okay, cool. So,
nice.
Yep. But,
All
that's
right.
my pick.
Cool. Good picks tonight, Rook. Other than Whiplash Runner, which he brought.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Runner. If you go back, I picked Whiplash as one of the films. I was like, I'll start off easy, and I pick out Whiplash, and I forget you like Whiplash a lot too, and have talked about it. So I totally spaced on that.
All right. So good picks tonight, Rook. And we have a super chat real quick, so we'll check that before we get to you deleted scenes. Thank you, Bronson Wright Wolf. I appreciate it. It says, I have a horror movie title to share with you guys. If Vanilla Ice makes his own horror movie, it should be called Slice Slice Baby. That is cool. And actually, if you ever follow the channel The Merkins, they made a music video called Slice Slice Baby with Michael Myers as Vanilla Ice. They faded up the mask and everything. It looks just like Vanilla Ice singing Slice Slice Baby about taking out Laurie Strode. So check that out, Bronson. I think you would dig that. So that's pretty cool. And thank you once again for the $5 super chat. And with that, I'll give you what's something I haven't played in a while here. Let's go to the Ninja Turtles.
Slice baby.
Slice baby. Check that out seriously on the Merkins. It's actually not a bad song, and it gets stuck in your damn head. But deleted scenes, what do you got for us? What's your final pick of the night?
Okay, hold on. My final pick of the night is a Western called Appaloosa.
Oh, I've seen this.
I vaguely remember that one, yeah.
Right. This was based on a novel by Robert B. Parker, who's best known for creating the book series that inspired Spencer for Hire. He eventually got into Westerns, and Appaloosa was the first. And it's basically about the friendship between this kind of regional marshal and this guy from who's a West Point graduate who becomes his deputy, and the woman that kind of becomes the Yoko Ono who comes between them. In the meantime, they have to deal with this evil rancher played by Jeremy Irons, who has murdered the previous sheriff. So it's pretty interesting character drama. It follows the book pretty closely, and the action scenes are great.
My dad loves this movie, so I've seen it.
It is. Lance Henriksen shows up as one of the villains, and it's a movie that kind of got slept on in theaters, and it was like, I know this is going to be good because I had read the book, and I went, if somebody did it right, who really understood Westerns, who really understood the characters, could really make a good movie out of this. And then Ed Harris co-wrote and directed it. Now, perfect. Somebody is going to get it, but no one is going to see it.
Right.
Because it's such a niche film, because it's an independent Western.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it plays very much like an indie film. And of course, no one went to go see it. They got totally slept on, and it's outstanding. You have Ed Harris, you have Viggo Mortensen, Renee Zellweger, like I said, Lance Henriksen. She is a complete bitch in this movie.
Yep.
And she just, which was very much against type for her at the time.
Yeah.
And because she was, yeah, she was like the girl next door, and she was in and she was coming off of Jerry Maguire, but she's playing a character in this who likes to play men off of each other, and whoever, I'm going to be very crude about this, whoever comes off looking like he's King Big Cock at the time is the guy she's going to gravitate to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, she keeps going back and forth between Ed Harris and Jeremy Irons, with Viggo Mortensen just looking at her the whole time like, bitch, I know what you're all about.
Yep.
And like, don't even try it, because you're trying to fuck over my pal, and I will let him know what kind of a bitch you are. You know, and then in the meantime, you know, you've got this murder that they're trying to solve of the previous sheriff. You know, and dealing with the, you know, these hired guns that Jeremy Irons has hired to take them out, and it's a pretty good movie. The character drama works, the action, even though there's not really a lot of it in the movie, because it's very realistic when it comes to the gunfights. It's very fast, and it's over very quickly, and you know, there's one shootout in particular, and this doesn't really give too much of away. Basically, everybody gets hit.
Yeah.
You know, and there's the line, and he has the Mortensen says, "Well, that happened fast," you know, and Ed Harris said, "Everybody knew how to shoot."
Yeah.
And it's just that fucking simple, you know. And of course, at that range, you couldn't miss, but. Still, it's pretty well shot. It's pretty well edited. It's one of those movies that I think demands a 4K, but I don't think we're going to get it because not very many people know the movie. So there's not really a demand for it, which is unfortunate. But
that's how it works, man. You have to have that demand for the 4K.
And this is. And they could do more movies too, because it's based off a series of books. It's like 10 or 12 of them now. Mm-hmm. But again, you know, because of low box office, it flew under the radar, which is too bad, because it's an excellent movie.
Yeah, it's not a bad little movie. Like I said, my dad likes it. He's seen it. He likes Ed Harris and Viggo Mortensen, so it plays well. I mean, it's got a nice little story to it there at the end. I don't want to, yeah, so it's not bad. Not bad. Okay. You gave an idea for a new Halloween costume. So just so you know that. And we've been called Slim Drew Carey. You were talking
well, that's because of the hair. Yeah. I actually don't really need the glasses. I just need them to read and to see computer screens, you know, because you're all very blurry right now, so I'm going to put my glasses back on.
There you go. But
yeah,
that's good pick there. Like you said, I mean, you're coming in strong tonight. Good night, Brian Barth. Thank you for hanging with us. Got another super chat from Bronson real quick before we move it on. In your opinion, which Tim Burton character do you think would be fun to dress up for as Halloween? I mean, well, the obvious would be Jack Skellington if I had the body for it.
Batman.
Batman, exactly. Pee Wee Herman. I would
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice would be the best. Yeah, those are good ones right there.
I was the Penguin one year.
I could go as a penguin. Or I'd go as Ichabod Crane, or the Headless Horseman. That would be fun. And I'd do it like with the Christopher Walken makeup on when he comes back with the hair all spiky and stuff. But thank you once again, Bronson, for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that. And before we go to Tom, I'll just play one more of these real quick, since you're so generous. Let's see. Let's do. What can I do? I'll do this one.
I have to return some videotapes.
But Tom, Edward Scissorhands, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a good one. There you go. Tom, what is your last pick for the night?
I was taking a drink.
Oh, sorry. There you go. There you go.
This my last pick tonight is a movie that should have been on disc a long time ago, and we should be getting a 4K right now, but we're just finally getting a Blu-ray of it. And sadly, Sony put the least amount of effort possible into this disc, which is sad. But it still holds up. In fact, I was reminded after watching it how great it really is. And it doesn't get enough credit. It doesn't get talked about enough. And it's probably Ralph Bakshi's best film ever. And it's called American Pop. And if you have not seen it, do yourself a favor. This just came out this week. And this is literally the most bare bones as you can get Blu-ray. There's no menus at all.
Is there even any special features?
Not even a trailer.
And it's $25 because I was going to buy it.
That's my complaint.
Fuck.
And the scan doesn't even look like it's a new scan because I compared it to my digital version that I've had for years. And all it looks like is they just cleaned up that scan a little bit.
That's disappointing.
Yeah. But this movie deserves to be seen. It's a great fucking film. In fact, I even found myself getting a little welled up this time watching it in certain bits. If you don't know what the movie's about, it follows, I believe, 4 generations of a family through the history of America through music. And it's kind of one of the first jukebox musicals. And I'm surprised they haven't remade it. I'm very surprised because this was like 40 years ahead of its time. Like right now, if this came out today, this would be like the best Oscar winner of the year, right? Like the way they handled it, the way that Bakshi combined all these like semi histories of famous musicians and families and the way the world was at the time with the wars and everything going on, and you know this family line and how it goes throughout the years. It's just a wonderful film. Uses a lot of his where he would trace live action film. What the hell is it called? Rotoscoping.
Yeah.
A lot of rotoscoping in it. In fact, you might even recognize some of the actors as you get through it because he basically just rotoscopes the actors in their parts. But no, it's a great film. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not.
Yes, I have. It's been very, very long time. Yeah. So I was going to pick it up, and I seen it was $25. I was thinking, it's been a long time, and this is
very overpriced. I'm pissed about that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck. Why didn't they just give it to Mill Creek if they were going to do this?
I would. I think I'm going to have to wait on that one as well. That's a couple I have to wait on now until they go on sale because I just can't see paying the price if they're just going to bare bones it. I just can't. But I really want the movie, so.
And it's sad too because it is a fucking masterpiece.
It is. It's such a good movie. I remember the music. I remember the Bob Seger stuff. I remember that. I remember that stuff. And it's been so long. About like you said, can't even say his name. He's a genius.
Ralph Bakshi,
yeah, Ralph Bakshi. He's a genius. He's great movies, great artwork, great rotoscope. It's a brilliant film, and you're right.
He just sold one of the Jimi Hendrix cells from there for like $700 or $800, I think it was.
For real?
Yeah.
Dang. You would think that would go a little higher, though. I mean, not that $700, $800 ain't bad.
Unfortunately, it's not as well known, and that's just for one cell, though. But
yeah.
It might have went a little higher than that, but I mean, that was the one I was looking at. I'm like, fuck, I wish I had that kind of money.
Right.
I've been waiting for him to put up some Fritz the Cat's one. He's put up a lot of Lord of the Rings ones. He put up a couple from American Pop here recently. I really been waiting for Fritz the Cat. Then I'll spend my money.
There you go, dude. I'm getting that. But it's a shame, man, because that is a really good movie. And like you said, that would have won, an Oscar and stuff. That would have been nominated. You would have like some.
It's basically like A Star Was Born a few years ago, right? Like, I mean, that movie is the last quarter of this movie. Like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's such a great film. The way it goes through the generations, it emulates the music of the times, and just these guys are believable. The characters are believable. It's Bakshi's most coherent film. Like that's another thing that helps. For those who may not, may not be too familiar with him, but yeah, some of his other stuff's a bit out there.
Yeah. Oh, but it sucks, man.
Well, he was notorious for being able to take like real conversations and animate them, and that's kind of what this movie is. But this was him perfecting that. Yeah, Heavy Traffic is a great example of what I was just talking about. That's literally where he just recorded conversations and then animated over them. And he did a lot of that in Fritz the Cat and some of the other things and some of his other tricks of the trade. But I think like working on Lord of the Rings and such really set him up for this. And this is, as far as I'm concerned, his best work. Like this is everything he does great right here. Sure, he did Cool World and a couple other things after this, but
yeah,
this to me was his crowning jewel. So
that's where he hit the spot.
Everything perfect.
Yeah.
Like perfect 10 out of 10 film. Like it's just so brilliant. And the acting's in it great, and the story's good, and it follows along real well. I mean, it doesn't have like a lot of padding or anything like that. It doesn't feel too schmaltzy like some movies probably would from this era or that about that kind of thing. And it came out in 81, and it does a really great job of showing, all the eras of music throughout.
It does, and it's like a hell of a soundtrack. So I remember that much of it. Like I said, I remember a lot of that. But yeah, I guess
I'm glad they gave us the original poster art, but that's about it.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to wait till sale for that one as usual.
I don't know if you remember what's funny is this was one of the first DVDs that Sony ever released.
Mm-hmm.
They released it the same day they released Heavy Metal Remastered.
Yeah.
And ever since that was the last and only time it got released on disc. That was like 20 some years ago.
Yeah, that's like good because it's been so long since I've seen it. I think maybe I had the DVD. Maybe I don't remember.
Oh, the DVD looks weird.
Yeah,
it's all like because they made it to look like it matched Heavy Metal with all the foil kind of like thing, but they've got him riding on a CD. In fact, I think that the back is the same as the back of the CD because they have all the pictures riding on CDs. This movie was made the year before CD was invented, kids.
So we got to throw in the CDs on it, make it sell.
You didn't do it right. This was made way before there was CDs, children.
We didn't have those fancy discs yet.
This is even pre-music clips where you buy $3 or $4 worth of a 30-second sound clip from a song you like, and you buy a huge stupid player. You have CDs available, by the way, but you can buy these stupid clips. You guys remember those?
Kind of. It's funny you mention it because I was going through my Ninja Turtle special features that I had to make my own of, and I have a commercial where you literally call the 900 number to listen to the soundtrack. If you sit down song on a 900 number for what they charged you in the thing is like, why didn't you just go buy the album?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do it on really crappy mono speaker for the most expensive price, and that was like I couldn't believe that when because like $1 for the first minute, 50 cents for each additional minute. It's like Jesus Christ!
Like just buy the thing, but buy
for
a
a
CD.
dime back then.
Buy
like,
a CD.
holy fuck!
CDs can play like what? Like how much minutes of music? Like a good amount, like 13 songs at least, right?
Well, no, the whole point was you just called to listen to the soundtrack. Just like buy the fucking CD. What the hell?
Yeah, you'll save time, you'll save money, you'll be happier. Why would you want to
or
listen
the tape
to it?
or whatever, the record?
Because you'd also be listening. It's not just that you'd be listening to it through a phone speaker. Like, why not just have a boombox?
This is exactly what I was talking about when I was watching American Pies with the soundtrack to the American Pies. Man, it took me back into the music
so you guys
stuff.
can see I'm not completely insane and why this is insane. I remember owning the soundtrack. Like the cassette was like $7.99. The CD at that time was probably anywhere between $9.99 and $12.99, and the record was probably $7.99, same as the cassette.
Yeah.
And it had all three versions. They were all out there, so it's not like they didn't exist.
It's like imagine listening to a song halfway though. It's like you gotta do the rest if you like the song. Like,
well, what's dumb is I would think it would be an 800 number to sell you the soundtrack because they actually used to have those kind of things back in that day, where you could call and listen to the top 40 songs, and then you could literally order the CD over the phone with it. Like,
Wasn't that just the
if you want to
radio
listen
where
to
they just
Hootie and the
play the
Blowfish,
songs?
yeah, but it'd be like, thank you for calling the whatever hotline, the pop hotline. If you want to listen to Hootie and the Blowfish, press 1.
Yeah, I
want to
remember
listen to
those.
Collective Soul, press
I remember
2.
those.
If you want to hear the new single from Sheryl Crow, press 3. And then you hit it, and it would literally be like 3 seconds of one of their songs, and then it'd be like, if you want to hear the whole album, then put in your credit card now and call. Blah, 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 yeah.
Guys were on some shit back then, man. What the fuck?
Oh, yeah, that's the way the world worked. We had all kinds of shit. Let me see if I can find this here. Where's the sound?
Well, it's like, so when I'm referencing the movie clips, those were, or the music clips, those were around when they have CDs. Like, why would you buy they'd have like NSYNC and Britney Spears and stuff, like, oh, you can get like a minute of it, but you have to also buy like a $20 player for it. It's clunky, it's stupid, and it's like, oh, it only plays like a minute, and it's like, why would you do that when you just get a CD that has like full albums and it's like many minutes worth, like one full song at least, like.
It's kind of like owning the movie on 4K, but watching it on your smartphone. I don't know anybody who does that.
I'm trying to think of equivalents, like if you have pants, but you just choose to not have pockets, like what's wrong with you? Or a car that comes without a cup holder. It's like, why go backwards? What are we doing?
Okay.
But you have inspired a few people out in the audience here, Random Brad and Cynical, to pick up or watch American Pop at least. So.
Watch American Pie and then watch Deep in the Valley after.
The original soundtrack album to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is excellent. Now hear these radical tunes on your telephone. Dial 1-900-860-9000 and boogaloo to the turtle tunes. Pick up your phones and hear sounds that'll shake your bones. The original soundtrack album. So get up off your shelf and dial 1-900-860-9000. $2 the first minute, $1 each additional. Callers under 18, get your parents' permission. Call on, dude. It's almost as cool as pizza.
Like, what the fuck? Just buy the goddamn soundtrack.
That sounds like a lot of work. That sounds like a lot of work. Holy crap.
That's a scam and a half.
I can just go in. I could just stumble into the store and spend less time and money on it.
That's almost as bad. And I actually called one of these one time, and I feel bad for the guy. Okay, this is me confession time now. Tom Connor's confession.
All right, lay it on us,
young, like I was like 11 years old. Okay, I used to go bowling on Saturday afternoons for like a junior league thing. And like one time I used their phone to call the Hulk Hogan 900 number because Suburban Commando was coming out. And that was like the whole commercial was like, that's literally what it was. You're calling to pay to listen to a commercial.
Yeah,
I thought it was like, it's like, hey, here's Hulk Hogan sound bites from movies he's in or something.
No, it's like, hey, Hulksters, thanks for calling the 1-900 Hulk Hogan line. I'm so glad to talk to you. And he's just keeps yakking and yakking, so to drag it out so you listening forever. And it's like this story goes, he's like, so I went to the store the other day and I picked, it was coming out on video. That's right. I went to the store the other day and I picked up a pizza. And I got something to drink, and I got some milk because does a body good. And he just going on and on and on. And
when I took a piss, that lasted long and hard, longer than any man would ever do.
I got to the video store and I grabbed my copy of Suburban Commando coming to video on March 17th. Like that was the whole damn thing was so you could find out when the movie was coming to video. That's what it was all about. I remember now. So I sat there and listened for like 5 fucking minutes.
You're being tortured. Chinese
get
consider
to that.
this a torture
to get Hulk Hogan to tell me when the fucking movie was coming out on video. So I feel bad. The guy's probably dead now.
The Russians use this to torture
so
people.
I apologize. And if I could give him the $10 or whatever it cost for that phone call, I would. Hey, Hulksters.
Hey, Hulksters. Let me tell you something, brother. Suburban Commando is the best movie I've ever made.
Yeah,
that sounds
that was pretty much it.
That's just the 90s. It sounds like a 90s thing encapsulated. Just you get a call to hear an ad
the whole
for
thing
you.
is like,
the thing. It's like, okay,
and Hulkster's got a special message for you. He's gonna let you know when you can get Suburban Commando on video. His hit movie. You know,
what would have
like
made that better? What would have made that better is if the voice is clearly not of Hulk Hogan. It's just like, "Hello, children. This is the Hulk Hogan here." Like if it was like,
I'm the Hulk Hogan.
Be like, no,
you're not Hulk
guy.
Hogan. Shut up, kids.
No.
I'm the Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, that guy from Independence Day that you're doing. Or whatever.
Did you get your parents' permission to call?
Make sure you get your panties on. Don't leave the store without them. You gotta go.
Yes.
Oh, yes, I'm touching myself all over. Oh, sorry, wrong hotline.
That was the Hobbit special. No. I don't know.
Thank you for your confession.
Freddie
Now
had a
watch Hulk
hotline
Hogan
back
on
in the
radio.
day too. I can only imagine what that was like. I think that was similar because now I remember. Now I'm having a fucking flashback because my buddy was like a super horror fan back then. He's like, "We're gonna call the Freddy hotline or whatever it was," and literally because it's on the video for Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Actually, they might have that on YouTube somewhere. Let me find out.
They do because I've used that video clip of the call.
No, I know, but they might actually have what he says.
Oh, what he says on there. Well, you look for that. I'm gonna
Oh yeah, he was telling you a little story in each one.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit these 2 super chats while you're searching for it real quick.
I got it.
Okay, well, go ahead then.
It's hard to hear a little bit, but somebody clearly recorded this off their phone back in the day.
Oh God, I can already hear the audio.
For another of Freddy Krueger's favorite bedtime stories, and this one's a dream, my kind of dream, the kind you don't wake up from.
It's actually Robert Englund, at least.
When I opened my eyes, I thought I was having a nightmare. I couldn't remember who I was, where I'd been.
That's not.
I was just
no.
With sulfurous air hung thick in a blood-red haze. And then I noticed the creaking of wood. I was inside a ship of some kind, a hideous slave galley, miles long, filled with row upon row of heaving bodies. I was one of them, naked, sweating, bound in heavy chains, rowing rhythmically and endlessly to a
They just
slow
drag it out. Just so they...
I just want to know when it comes out.
Okay, to hear all the different stories, there's 44 minutes worth. Somebody actually collected all 44 minutes worth. Can you imagine how much that would cost you?
That's a lot of money for your mom.
In my head, I'm like, don't they just play these on the radio for you and you're good? Like,
no, yeah, you guys have no idea how. Like, don't even get me started. Like, I'm surprised I didn't bring this up during American Pie. Like, you have no idea how difficult it was just for us to get fucking porn back in the day, Rook.
Right?
You guys don't understand the struggle. Like, I wrote a whole movie script about this. I wrote like this movie set in an era of like, it's basically Stand By Me, but it's about when I was a kid, it wasn't so easy to get porn. We actually had to seek it out. Once in a while you were lucky and your friend's dad had a stack or a stash and whatnot. But like the whole point of the movie is these kids find out that there's the secret porn stash. And then later on, South Park did an episode that was really similar, so it pissed me off. But like, yeah, I had this whole idea it would be like a Stand By Me kind of movie, but it's literally about these kids going on this adventure, and they have like this idea in their head,
the sacred stash.
Yeah, that they have this idea in their head that there's this magic cabin in the woods that's just chock full of porn, right? Like every kind of porn you can think of. And when they get there, the whole joke is that it's literally like a Playboy shoved in a knot of a tree.
Like, right.
It's like this huge legend when it's just this mundane little.
Yeah. Well, of course, the whole point of the story is
it's about the journey. It's the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, sadly, a South Park episode does lean so close to it. I'm like, fine.
Is that the Backdoor Sluts 9 one, or when they're like playing Lord of the Rings and they accidentally?
I think so because like the fourth graders are chasing.
Yeah,
after
yeah,
that's
that one. Yeah, because
that's the part
they're
that's a lot like
movies.
My Story or whatever.
Yeah, they're gonna let Butters watch Lord of the Rings, but the dad accidentally got the
yes, I think that's the one.
Backdoor Sluts 9 or something, and then they're like, everybody's like, hey, they've got the porno and whatever, and all the kids are just like, wow, everybody has obsessed with this tape. And
see, mine was more of a parody of Stand By Me, though, where he had the older kids who were trying to stop them as well, but like it was kind of.
I think South Park went on. It's a journey as that concept, essentially.
Yeah,
I get what you mean. Yeah.
And Butters basically turns into Gollum.
Yes.
We needs it. We needs it.
We has the precious.
No, I had the whole thing written out like because it was like 3 boys and the Tom girl or whatever, and like of course along the way, the one who's kind of like the leader of the pack, he gets kissed by the girl, of course, so he doesn't even give a shit by the time they get to the Playboy thing because he's already a man, And the other 2 guys who are like obsessed with it, they get let down, of course, because it's just the magazine, right? Like that's the whole thing. But then of course,
what was this movie?
It was just an idea I had for a movie. I never had a title.
That sounds like a funny ass movie. Like
it was. That was the whole movie. It was like basically a parody of Stand By or satire.
That sounds like
Stand By Me. Yeah,
like an ending of the '80s going into the '90s movie or something.
Like the start of the movie is literally like the dad catches the son like looking at porn on his phone, or at that time it would have been a computer, but like now it's how it started be like on his phone or whatever, and then like he just kind of thinks about the fact that like. Back then, it would have been such a big deal, and of how he's like, how hard it was for kids to get like he's telling his kid this story basically, like you kids have no idea, how hard it was for us to see a naked boob.
The kid's like, I didn't ask for this.
And you have like the whole montage of you had cable, but that didn't always work, and you had like the kids rolling with the rolling picture, going like, I think I saw a boob. I saw a boob.
Somebody threw away a magazine and there's a chick on it. I got to see what else is in there.
Or we had to, or compromise, and you had like the J.C. Penney catalog opening up, kind of thing. There was this whole montage of the whole thing, and then there's like, of course, you got lucky if you had the cool friend who had like the single dad who had the porn stash, blah blah blah.
He has the arcade games and porn stash.
Yeah, sitting around looking at like a bunch of Playboys on a waterbed or some shit like that, like this 80s like really
as well. It's like, oh
yeah, 80s really kind of chic fucking room, kind of thing. And then it comes to the main kids in the story, and they're like, but we of course had, we had to seek it out, and of course like there's Legend of the Porn Stash. Yeah,
you can totally do that movie nowadays, man.
It sounds like a fun callback kind of movie that would be good because it's like,
oh yeah, it has to take place in like the early. It was in the early 90s.
Well, I mean, like if they told the story, if it starts in the present and then like it tells the story, like I guess I think of Princess Bride
because it's about the last generation before the internet, basically.
Yeah, because it's like everything's overly easy. There's too much things, and there's like too many of everything around, and so it's like no. Back in the time, you had to scavenge, you had to hunt for stuff. It's like what? Yeah. And then like I like the idea. It's like there's like a lot of people.
And the dad in the beginning, I always picture was kind of like at first he's just like.
Well,
and then have that kind of stuff when I was a kid.
It seems like most boys that pursued it anyway ended up growing up and finding women anyway. It wasn't like they were in that forever. It was like
don't any of these have a story anymore?
It was a stage of doing something. Yeah.
But, speaking of stories and porn, good night, Runner.
Yep. Good night, Twin. Yes. Yeah, get to the super chats before.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Get to the super chats real quick. It's from 2 more $5 super chats from Bronson. Let me get to the first one, which I think you.
This episode is brought to you by Bronson. Charles Bronson.
Bronson and Bronson.
And we did learn
that as Charles Bronson.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just for the whole month of October, The Price is Right should be called Price is Fright. Drew Carey's nickname should also be Drew Scary. I will.
It's great.
I will scare him all right.
Yes.
Smith and Wesson.
Continue.
Then Drew Scary versus Scary Potter. That would be a spooky battle for Halloween. Who do you guys think will win? I will.
I'd go, Bronson wins.
They
I
all
would go
lose.
Drew Scary because I like the name Drew Scary better than Scary Potter. But that's me.
I think they're both very clever.
Yes, they're very clever. But thank you, Bronson. I hope you enjoyed that being read by Bronson. I
like they got a death wish.
But thank you so very much for the 2 $5 super chats. I truly appreciate all your support, and you always have the greatest super chats. Like they always just come out of the blue. So I dig that. I love that. Thank you, man. But yeah, that upsets me about the Ralph Bakshi thing, and I think you can still make that movie, Tom. I mean, people are still very into nostalgia, especially the '90s right now. I think you could crack that. I think
possibly.
That sounds like that sounds more interesting to me than Stand By Me, because that's like 4 boys going to find a dead body thing. It's like, well,
and we could use a new American Pie. That's in.
I've soft pitched it a few times on shows, so you never know. Maybe someday.
Yeah.
Somebody will.
Because
but, hey, I
that
like
sounds like
idea.
that sounds like one that somebody should make. I was like, where's the movie? Because that sounds funny.
That actually, I think that might have been one that I came up with when I was doing that thing that I was telling you guys about earlier. That game, and I think I just carried it off from there. Like it was just one that was good enough idea that because I think it did win the week or whatever. Because I think we went for like a week.
That sounds like a fun game.
It was either a week or a couple days. The pitch. I can't remember the website now. It's gone, I'm sure. But it was literally just like a bunch of film nerds, and we get on there, and you would have this contest literally where each person you'd have to work up your whole presentation. You'd make a fake poster. You'd have like a synopsis. You'd have your cast list. And you do basically this fake pitch online, and people would vote each week or whatever, or every day, I can't remember which one they liked the most. And then at the end of that period, one would win. And it was just, you didn't win nothing. It was just, bragging rights.
Well, it'd be fun to be like, wow, my idea won. Everybody
and then
likes
your
that
poster
idea.
would get thrown into like this thing where it was like, you go up in this like hall of where all the movies that got picked that got made or greenlit or whatever kind of thing.
How come no one in our sphere has a game show like that around? That seems like a good segment for stuff. Like,
well, we're gonna kind of do something similar-ish to that. I can't get too deep into it, but Scribe Light and Script Doctor and I have been kind of working on a concept. But the concept is basically where we each give each other set guidelines, and we have to work up a movie idea around those set guidelines. So it's very similar-ish.
That sounds great. When people say like, "Oh, you should make like a smaller stuff," Rook, sometimes I'm like, "Well, okay, that's great," but I always try to expand it, so it's hard for me.
Look, I'll tell you what,
you gotta give me limitations so then I can.
This goes for you and Runner. Okay, if you guys can actually get to the point where you can make something, I will help you. I will give you my fucking idea because you can make that for nothing. Not give it to you, but like basically, I will make it with you. I will make it with you. I'll give you I'll write it for you and let you direct or whatever. Even though I'd like to direct it myself, but I would actually just do that as whatever. Like if you guys actually got the funding and you pitch, we're in a moment where you could pitch a movie idea and they buy that pitch. If like your first two pitches of your own personal shit don't work, you go ahead and pitch my porno comedy, but you better make sure I get involved. That's all I say.
Yeah, of course, dude. Yeah, we want your vision to come true.
Well, yeah. No, I'm just saying. Like, I'm not like I'm going to sit there. Like, I don't want to go through some litigation bullshit.
Runner and I are
nothing.
youngsters. Like, we didn't live through that time.
No, but that was kind of that was one of the reasons why I held on to that specific idea, along with like one or two other ones.
Yeah.
The other ones were mini golf, and I can't remember the other one now. But basically, I think Misfortune was the other one I kind of hung on to actually, because they were actually ones where like I could see doing those on a budget. To where it's like if I were actually to be able to film something, because even when I came up with these ideas, digital filmmaking was still kind of like we actually shot some shit on some of the first early HD cameras, and I didn't realize it until later on. And like so like we did not have. And those cameras were like 10 grand back then. We were basically renting them through the company I worked for.
Right.
Insane, but like. I didn't even realize how fancy the equipment we were messing with back then was. But we had this really weird fucking idea for a movie. We only got it half filmed. Actually, 2/3 of the way filmed. And I have like an hour version of it somewhere on the disc. But the original concept was, and this is really fucking pretentious, so don't laugh too hard. We'd shot the movie, and then we'd take it down to black and white. And then the gimmick is you had... these, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 characters in the film, and each one was represented by a color. Okay. So instead of the film actually being in black and white, when one character was on screen, it would be a red tinted. Other characters on screen would be blue tinted, and so on and so forth. A yellow tinted one for another, and so on. And then as those characters would meet up, the tints would blend. So you'd have purple, and you'd have, other things. So like throughout the film, the color would change as the characters were moving through the story, and it was all revolved around this one character that had died, and all these people were going to their funeral at the end of the film. So it was kind of like a reverse. It was kind of like a weird reverse Big Chill mixed with a little bit of Pulp Fiction mixed with film school crazy batshit. We smoked too much weed and came up with this weird idea. And we might not know how to, and we figured out how to actually execute it. The problem was we lost like a couple of our actors.
Oh, I mean,
Well, I mean, it sounds fun. And it sounds like these ideas are doable. Extremely.
Some
doable.
of the movie is good. Some of the movie is shit. and some of it is stuff that I would never show anybody, but there's like one section of it that I've cut together as like a small short film that kind of works. It takes the best of what we had because we were also learning and experimenting as we were going along. Like half the movie is shot without boom mics, half of it is. You know, like,
I'd still say to post them somewhere because even if they're not the best, like those are still fun
yeah, I
see.
get
Like,
you. But
like I mean, right now I'm making the Fat Speedster stuff, short films, and I mean this is me literally learning as I do it. After I'm,
but we also have we had actually access to I can't believe we did, but we actually had access to guns with we had basically the fake load guns or whatever, like real prop guns, or one anyway that we used, and it's in the movie, and we couldn't get it to work right half the fucking time, and I'm surprised we didn't kill somebody with it.
Good thing you didn't Baldwin.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised to this day we didn't kill the motherfucker who actually is sadly dead now. And we just recently lost him not too long ago here to cancer. Fuck cancer. But yeah, we got so close to his head with that gun. I'm surprised we didn't.
That would have been hard to explain.
Yeah, and what's sad is we got 2 shots of it too. We had to do it like 2 or 3 times because we had a hose that was originally attached to the back, all the way up his back, out the back of his head, and so like the way that the position was like from here, the guy would come at the angle, and so we had the hose coming out the back this way, coming out this way.
Yeah, try to get the blood to shoot out that way.
And here I am with a hose like this, and this is a big fucking hose. I'm this fucking hose.
Legion of Memers.
We've literally loaded it up because I think we ran out of fake blood at that point, but we're like, we need something chunkier.
We need real blood. No.
Well, no, yeah, we need real blood. No, so we literally filled it up with ketchup because we wanted it to be more gloppy like ketchup was, because I think we tried it with the other and it was just kind of, you couldn't see it on the
liquidy.
The way it would spray out. We needed either a smaller tube, which we couldn't find, or it just wasn't. It was just kind of like spurting out real quick, and you couldn't really see it. So I know we tested it a few times, and this is the way we decided to do it. So we mixed mayo, ketchup, because we wanted the membrane kind of thing. I can't remember what we used for skull fragments, and we threw in some a clump of hair just to make it look like hair. You could barely tell in the scene when it comes out, but I'm I take a huge breath. And it's like, and you can hear this stuff go.
That's what it sounds like when you get shot, of course.
But the gun don't go off. We're like, fuck. So we did it again. And I think the same thing happened twice. We're like, fuck it. We'll just put it in post. So it's the first time the first 2 times the gun worked and the fucking effect didn't. Second 2 times the gun wouldn't go off and the fucking effect worked. And we're like, fuck. Because it's a one shot you got. It's you got to get the shot. And then the shit's got to go off at the same fucking time. It's all timed perfectly. So my buddy who had the gun in his hand is watching me because his hand is it's just his hand in shot. So he's watching me take that big breath because his cue is when I take that big breath, I'm about to blow. So when I blow, you pull the trigger. And if it don't go off, we're fucked. And we're running out of time. And it's just I know what it's like to make a movie. To make a real movie now, because that was where we were actually getting to the fucking point. We had the boom mic, we actually had a crew. This is some of the best looking and sounding shit we got, and it's fuck, it's still fucked up because of that. But so that I don't even know if I have the original 3 shots we did, but we had the 1 shot that looked as good as we could, and the gun didn't go off, but I just added the sound effect to it. But that's just kind of the story. We even shot another thing that because we had access to a house that somebody was going to be remodeling, so we could do almost anything we wanted to it. We only ended up shooting one night there, and then we shot in town otherwise. But I lost all of that footage.
Oh no!
Because what happened there is we were in the middle of shooting. We shot the opening scene and part of the middle section in that house, and the opening scene was in town, and we literally had to call the cops, let them know what we were doing, and they said we were okay with it and everything like that. Because we weren't professional, but just so they knew what we were up to, because we asked them, what do we do for filming? Do we have to get any permits from you guys? They're like, nah, we ain't worried about that. Just let us know when you're shooting. So if we get any phone calls because you guys are screaming and hollering or something like that, blah, blah, blah. And so we're like, okay, no problem. So we're shooting at the park at this time, blah, 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 was the whole thing. And so we got that done, and we got some of the house stuff done. And the company that I worked for that owned the equipment sold the equipment without telling us they were going to sell it. So they wiped all the fucking digital tapes and sold it all off to them. So like we lost everything. It was crazy. So like all I have now is like fuzzy VHS copies that we ripped. Like we had to sit there and figure out how to fucking send this shit out to a VHS. This is how new some of this stuff was at this time. We had no way, and we had no idea how the fuck we were going to port this out. We had to buy a special card to figure it out.
Oh man.
Yeah, so it was like, because we're sitting here working on the computer. It was great. We had an hour of footage on the computer, but then one night I'm like, I want to take this home and watch it so I can kind of make some notes. And my buddy's like, well, I don't know how the fuck we're gonna get it.
Damn.
We had no way of plugging it out to a.
Man.
And then we had like one card he had there, but it didn't have the sound. So I think the first time we did it, we finagled it with, because he had one that had an old RCA kind of port, or no, it wasn't even an RCA. I think it was like probably one of these old ass things that you could hook up to an old computer deal. Because I worked for an ISP, and they also had, and then they had this video department thing on the side that the guy did as a hobby, and he sold all the video stuff. But he had like this uber expensive video shit. And the really stupid story that goes along with this is, okay, the guy's mom was like rich, but she was like weird and believed in like the Y2K stuff and all that stuff, and it was like gonna end the world and shit. So she had given her son all this money to buy this equipment so he could produce this video. And so he just had all this stuff sitting around. And so literally we were like, what are we going to do with all these tapes? And we come up with an idea where we're going to reuse all the tapes, because this was like 2001 too by now at this point. So they're kind of just sitting there like we had boxes and boxes of these Y2K tapes that this guy's mom produced. I shit you not.
That's funny.
With some of the worst fucking, which is sad because it's some of the worst looking cover art I'd ever seen. I actually looked for one of these tapes. I thought I might have still had one around, but I can't find it. But the tape was really neat. The tape was kind of, so they must have spent some money on this, and the quality of the cover was great as far as like the make of it, but the cover art was horrendous. Like it looked like some early paint shop shit. Like, or not even paint shop, like just regular old MS Paint kind of shit is what I'm saying. Like it was horrid looking.
That's funny.
So I don't know how much they spent per tape on this thing, but we literally had boxes of these bastards. So we're like, okay, well, we can use these, right? We just got to figure out how to feed this movie out, because at that time DVD was just in its infancy, or just coming around, but tape was still viable. So we're like, well, we can at least sell tapes of it. And we're going to sell them over the internet and shit. We can come up with our movies and stuff like that. We had a few ideas, but we never got it all taken care of. But we were going to recycle all those fucking tapes. But that's kind of how come this guy had this really fancy HD equipment that we didn't even know what it was. We were using like fucking Adobe After Effects and Adobe editing software and shit that's like a couple $1,000s back then. And like, it was not cheap. So we didn't realize then. I didn't realize then how professional. I mean, I did, but I didn't until a little later on how professional some of the shit we were using was.
Dang. That's crazy.
That's cool though.
Well, what's even more fucked up is if we had actually got that movie done, we would have beaten George Lucas and Pauly Shore to the punch by making the first HD movie.
Mm.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Because for those who don't know, those movies were fighting for the HD cameras at the time in Hollywood. Believe it or not, because Pauly Shore's dead on HD cam. And of course, George Lucas was shooting episode 2 in HD cam at that same exact fucking time as we were shooting.
Pauly Shore and George Lucas would have something.
Now, our HD cams weren't nearly as good as theirs.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we were shooting at full 1080p, but I'm pretty sure it was 720p.
Nice.
Now I know that. But
yeah. All right. That's a good story. Took us a little on a journey there, Tom.
If only YouTube wasn't around at the time for you.
If I ever find my discs, I will show you guys some of that shit.
Yeah, that'd be great to see, man.
Oh, I'd love to see it.
At the very least, I should be able to, because I took the one and I just took it back down to black and white, and I just cut the one section out of it as an own little short film. But luckily, that's the one that has like the blood effect and all that kind of stuff in it. It had most of the stuff that we spent the most time on, as far as like there's a bit of a car chase and stuff. It's kind of shitty, but we did the best we could at that time. We were learning as we were going, so yeah.
Hey, That's the best way to learn, right? All right, then. We'll get one more Bronson super chat real quick before I show my final pick, and we'll close it out. Thank you once again, Bronson, for the $5 super chat. Truly appreciate it. It says, "What is your favorite Brendan Fraser movie?" Blast from the Past is my favorite. What is your favorite?
Bone. No, I'm
What
kidding.
is your favorite Will Smith movie? Hancock is my favorite.
Gosh. Encino Man is good, but Blast from the Past is probably one of his best ones.
Excellent.
Yeah, excellent. I do like the first Mummy. I do like
Right.
Blast from the Past.
Mummy's
That's
good.
good.
Yeah.
Encino Man is great. With Will Smith, I'm gonna have to say Independence Day because I've never been a huge Will Smith
Bad
fan.
Boys.
Yeah, Bad Boys and Independence Day probably. That's about it for me. So, deleted scenes. You want to weigh in on any of that?
Well, for Brendan Fraser, yeah, The Mummy. There's another one that was a Western that I'm blanking on the name of, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan was in that as well. In
You're
Brendan
on a Jeffrey
Fraser,
Dean Morgan kick.
yeah, and Brendan Fraser plays like a half Indian, and God, I forgot the name of it.
It does not ring a bell at all.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
I think it had to do with like the Texas Rangers or something. It was on TV, and Bill Paxton was in it, and it was one of his last movies.
What the fuck?
And
I don't remember this one.
I am blanking on the fucking title, but that
Well,
was
evidently
a really good one
Brendan
too.
must have done some low caliber shit that we didn't know about for a while there. Evidently.
Yeah,
that's well. I mean, if Nicolas Cage could, so could Brendan, I guess. You know?
Well, you know, but
You never
Nicolas
know.
Cage is kind of a big deal. Like,
Yeah, true. That's true. I like Brendan Fraser's stuff that I've seen him in. I haven't seen it in forever. This is not my favorite. I'm just listing another one. He was the one that did Dudley Do Right, right?
Yeah, he did Dudley Do Right and George of the Jungle.
Jungle's good. George of the Jungle's good.
Oh,
You were about.
I guess I'd do George. Why not?
Yeah, Steve, what are you going to say for your Will Smith one?
Yeah.
Yeah, Will Smith is a little tougher.
Hitch was a good one that was better than I thought it was going to be. I think.
I did like Hancock, but I understand why a lot of people don't. And that was a movie where that changed a great deal from what was originally written.
What about the unrated version of I Am Legend that has the original ending on it?
Yeah, I Am Legend's good.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Is
anybody remember Enemy of the State? Yeah. That was another.
Enemy of the State's really good too.
I remember that one. Yeah. I've never been a huge Will Smith fan though, so.
Well, we know what he did to his career, but I loved how people were all like, "Poor Brendan Fraser." Yeah, maybe he did get a point where somebody had made some advance towards him and he turned it down, and it probably didn't help his career. But you know what else didn't help his career? Brendan Fraser. As I was joking there with Monkey Bone, people forgot that this guy made a buttload of movies that were huge fucking bombs. Like Monkey Bone, which was expensive in a bomb. That Bedazzled movie, which was expensive in a bomb. I'm sure I'm missing a few. Like that third Mummy movie even bombed, I think, if I remember right. Or
yeah, that one was awful.
Well.
Yeah. There's a
Brendan Fraser
snowman.
had his shot. That is the problem. And then he made shit like Dudley Do Right and George of the Jungle.
I feel like
and
he
wondered why
sure
people
what
didn't take him seriously. Yeah,
that's
sorry. I'm just
actually a
saying.
good point. No, you're, that's a good point because it's like that's what I'm saying. When I said Dudley Do Right, I'm like, I remember it. But was it good or do I like it even? I don't know.
That's what I hate about when actors and actresses are like, "Oh, woe is me. This got in the way of my career." It's like, no, your dumb fucking ass.
It was like he kind of plays buffoony characters, and then that's kind of
your managers got in the way of your career, or agents, whatever you want to call it. Like, yeah, because you. Gosh.
He needed to do more movies like Gods and Monsters and The Quiet American at that point in time in his career.
Yeah,
you know, and
I'm wondering.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're right, Steven. 100%. I agree. Because that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, maybe there was a situation where something happened and it didn't help his career, but that was not the reason why Brendan Fraser wasn't making A-list movies anymore. Brendan Fraser is the reason Brendan Fraser wasn't making A-list movies.
I'm wondering why he chose to ask for Brendan Fraser and then Will Smith. Like, was there something in common with those guys? Like,
I don't know.
Because Bronson's a fan of those guys.
I think maybe because one's on his way back up and the other one's on his way down.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, because I'm like, yeah, Will Smith is like, I like sometimes he's all right. Like I liked iRobot, I Am Legend.
I mean, you could argue Brendan Fraser was one of the last big stars, I guess, to a point. He was one of the last A-listers at that time, and then Will Smith as well as one of the last A-listers. In fact, famously, like William Goldman, I think it was, said that Will Smith is the last movie star.
It's kind of tough for me to judge some of these actors sometimes, like Adam Sandler and stuff, Will Ferrell, like to me, because I'm like they play goofy characters sometimes, but then they do like some really good dramatic ones, which kind of shows their range, or at least ones with a lot more heart, I suppose. And then it's like Brendan Fraser. I can't think of anything where he is like a serious role, except for now where he's got Whale Eyes.
Oh, he's done a lot of them. Like we said, Gods and Monsters earlier, School Ties. No, Brendan's career, he got every opportunity. Like I can't sit there and I don't know what happened exactly. I don't know if it's true or not or what happened there, but like, no, it was the fact that he was making bad choices like Monkey Bone and Bedazzled. Steven's 100% right. Had he stayed on the road of making more shit like Gods and Monsters,
was there ones that he was offered but turned down that were good? Know. Like I heard like Sean Connery turned down like Gandalf and like all these.
It's very possible that that's what he's thinking. Rook is that he's basically looking at it as like, oh, this producer, said I could have the role if I sucked his dick, and I said no, so that role cost me my career. That you could look at it from that angle, but.
Yeah.
Then again, it's like, no, that's my point is like without that situation happening, like your career took the tumble it did because you made a lot of bad choices or your managers, agents / whatever made bad choices for you. Really.
Which is kind of like, was his interest in film entirely anyway? Or did he have other stuff he was trying to do? Because I feel like sometimes.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Because he kind of happened quick. Because he was one of those rare overnight successes you had in Hollywood. Like, Cameron Diaz was another one at that time where they did one movie and all of a sudden they were considered movie stars because Encino Man was a big splash. Like that's the weird thing. Disney does not treat Encino Man like the hit it was.
Yeah, it was huge.
People forget how big of a movie that was when it came out. And not only that, they were planning and a sequel was in development hell for years. And they still talk about it to this day. The only thing that killed that movie's momentum was Pauly Shore getting oversaturated. To the point where nobody had any interest in making an Encino Man 2 because Pauly Shore was Pauly Shore at that point. Like,
yeah.
Like, no, but like after the Encino Man, it was like, boom, this guy was an instant star, especially, when you heard him talk. Because we hardly heard him talk in Encino Man. And it would have been totally different if the guy had a voice like this, but no, he's good looking, very,
he's a good American image.
Exactly, he's like good all American boy, kind of looking.
He's not like as athletic as Tom Cruise, but he's still like an average American
Midwestern
kind of looks
type.
Like.
Exactly, like a very Midwestern type. He
fits well in The Mummy too, because he feels like
he's sexy with a voice like that for the women, and the women did find him very sexy at first. That's the other thing, yeah.
Right, George of the Jungle. He's literally not wearing a shirt.
Well, to me, George of the Jungle was him storing it because, like, dude, it's like you're literally playing Encino Man all over again. Like, come on. And George of the Jungle is like bottom of the barrel bullshit at that point. Like that was kiss of death shit. Like you got to remember that was Disney.
Oh, it's good for clothesline.
That was the shit side of Disney at that point. Disney had its animated and its other prestigious shit. George of the Jungle is them literally cashing in on fucking.
Well, it's funny when you say that because it's like its sequel is like 10 times worse than George of the Jungle as well.
Well, and that was the Eisner era there. That's what I'm like. He would do that. He would make something for theatrical, and then he would feed that into his home video side, and then they wouldn't even bring back the original actors if they were too expensive.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because the George of the Jungle sequel, which was straight to video, only has Thomas Hayden Church in it. None of the other actors are in that movie.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. And they did the same thing with Inspector Gadget because you had French, what's his name, take over for French Stewart take over for Matthew Broderick, and it's straight to video. That's exactly what Eisner's whole thing was with those. Like, I mean, unless it was a bigger hit like Mighty Ducks. I mean, even those weren't so much safe because look at what happened to the last Honey I Shrunk the Kids.
Had a few of them come out,
which is weird because I think the third Honey I Shrunk the Kids movie cost the most. And it went straight to fucking video, and it is the worst.
Yeah, it is bad. It
is horrible. Horrible. Rick did it just for the payday.
There's a third Honey I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah,
they don't even like to acknowledge it.
Hold on. I remember. You don't want to know. I remember there's the one where they get shrunken.
It's called
and
Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the one.
He is the only one that returns, and the sad part is. is they have, I can't remember the actor's name, but he's like he's the Frewer guy in the first
neighbor,
movie.
the neighbor.
Yeah,
in it.
they're supposed to be the same neighbors from my recollection, and they literally have the absolute opposite actor to play them.
I
It's
thought
like,
this was
what
like a separate.
the
I thought this.
fuck?
I didn't
Yeah.
think they were all connected. I didn't think they were connected. I thought they were like
The first
No,
one.
they are.
Well,
They
all three
are.
are, but the
But
first-
this third one is, and it feels like straight to video from the start. And you're like, how the fuck did they spend all the money on this? But then you realize, I guess,
that is funny
Rick
because
Moranis got like a $5 million payday
was,
for it or
that
something.
was the
too.
first the Honey I Shrunk movie that I saw was the Shrunk Ourselves one. So that was in my head for a long time, and then I saw
that's the worst one, man.
And then I saw the one where they have like the big ant and the scorpion.
That's the
thing
first one.
in the yard, and that felt far more enjoyable in a way. And like
the
more
first two are
impressive.
great. In
Oh, it
fact,
was.
the second and first one, it is one of those rare cases where the second one's almost as good as the first film.
It's the what was the one where he blows up the kid? Is that
That's the second one?
That's the second one.
See, that's the
Okay,
beauty of
so I
that
was kinda
sequel
confused on that stuff.
is that the characters get to progress, and it's, even though it's kind of the opposite of the first movie, but it's fun that they didn't just recreate the first movie. It kind of does in some points because they're chasing the baby instead of them trying to find the baby.
I think I'll give it credit for that then, because that's like doing a sequel without repeating itself entirely.
It is. It's
and
great because the second
that.
film is okay. And I don't know if anybody's ever brought this up about the Honey movies, and you're going to want to watch them now after I'm done talking about them. But the first movie is a Journey to the Center of the Earth movie.
Mhm.
Okay.
The second movie is a Godzilla movie.
Yep. You're not wrong.
They should
You're
have
not
kept
wrong.
with that. They should have kept with that. Instead, they fucked it up and made a straight to video movie. It's like, no, you have the formula. Like, what the
Yep.
fuck?
Yeah,
or the 50-foot woman movies. Yes, exactly. Yes. Yes.
The only things I remember from My Shrunk Ourselves are like bananas. They have
The
potassium.
third one should have said,
and,
"Honey, we went. Honey, I took us to space," or some shit. Is what the third, like literally, like it's or you know, "Honey, I killed an alien," or something. Like, you know, got to get to the next.
Well, it's like, well, as I'm
thing,
thinking about
yeah.
it's so more it's so much mundane compared to the first one, because it's like, oh look, there's like laundry. Oh, there's like a cockroach, and then like a daddy long leg, and then there's like a race, some Hot Wheels. But the first one, it was like you're outside, there's the lawnmower, there's freaking ants and scorpion. Like, holy shit!
Well,
Like,
that's
you know,
the whole
you could
beauty
get
of it,
eaten by
Rook, is
cereal, and that
you're
felt
literally
so much
getting
more
like
amazing
a
as
Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of movie in your own backyard. Like, that's the point. Like, it was brilliant when it came out. That first movie did gangbusters in theaters. People forget how big that movie was when it first came out. And you know what it's treated like now?
Crap, because Disney won't put any of that crap on Blu-ray for us.
Well, they did, but
Yeah, on the Disney Movie Club.
only in the
Movie Club.
Disney Movie Club. Here you
Yeah,
go.
the Disney Movie Club.
So at least we get this, I guess. But,
Yeah.
no special features whatsoever. I remember there was an awesome making of the Honey I Shrunk the Kids on the Disney Channel that showed endlessly when that movie came out, along with the Who Framed Roger Rabbit one. But they don't have that on here.
Were they taking the concept from something else, from like a book or from another old movie or
No,
something?
I
like they
think
do
really it was
sometimes?
just an homage to like the Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of movies, basically.
Because was the I don't know why the little there's like other little people movies, I'm sure, that have
Kind of.
people
It wasn't
shrink.
so much playing with that concept. I mean, yes, that was part of it, but again, it was more like they get sent to another world.
Yeah, this doesn't
you
feel
know.
like it's in that same vein at all. From
It is,
what
but
I
it is,
remember.
and I get what you're saying. But you also have the crazy scientist character, which was a trope of the '80s. You know, like
Yeah.
Doc
Oh right,
Brown
like yeah, I
and
got
stuff
you.
like
It's
that,
like
which usually
he
sets
takes
this thing off.
his crazy garage tools. He makes this weird device somehow, and CD player probably helps power it or something.
Oh, that's right. They did do a TV show too. All right, yeah, with
they did.
that
Peter
guy
Scolari.
from
they did,
he was
yeah,
on Bob
right.
Newhart show or whatever. Yeah,
They have Bigfoot in that show. They had like some Freddy Krueger Dreamwalker guy in it.
I don't
that was
remember
a
any
weird-
of that.
I remember that
I didn't
show
watch
actually. Yeah, there's some redhead chick in it instead. Yeah, I don't remember it having anything to do with any of the films at all, but other than their names were Zelensky, I think that's pretty much it. But
Well, we're supposed to be getting another one now.
with what type of concept? What are they?
What's weird is the kid. Well, it's the kid's going to be played by now going to be replaced with unless they're having him play the younger kid. I didn't even think of that. Who's the guy who does Olaf, the voice?
Oh, him?
Yeah.
What is his name? Yeah, I
you know who
you're
I'm talking about.
Oh, I know.
He
That's
started
Mormon.
on the Book of Mormon. That guy.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I
Josh
can't think of his
Gad.
name. Josh Gad.
Gad,
Yes.
yeah,
I
is
can't
playing his
stand
son.
him.
And it's like the whole setup is Rick Moranis' character disappears. So it's like, I think it's going to be called like something like Honey, I Shrunk Myself or something, I'm sure is what it'll end up be called. But like, that's the whole thing is you find out that he shrinks himself and he's off on this journey somewhere or something or other.
How would you do
son's
another
gotta
Honey I
find him.
Shrunk? How would you do another Honey I Shrunk film if you were to continue the series?
Honestly, I wouldn't.
Yeah. It's okay to let things end.
And not only that,
Yeah,
I would
I
be
agree,
slapped.
yeah.
I would punch Rick Moranis almost as hard as that motherfucker on the street for not doing Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Oh no!
Because it's like, dude, you said yes to this garbage bullshit again.
I'm confused on Rick Moranis. You know, he comes off like he's like a movie star, but then he's like not a movie star, and he's in good things, but he's in
here's
bad
what
shit.
happened. I don't know
He's
if you know his history or not, Rook. He was one of those actors who was a great character comedian. Like he always did roles like in Ghostbusters and such. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was his first big starring role after Little Shop of Horrors. So it was like boom, boom. He had 2 hits. And then also being in like Spaceballs as one of the main characters also was a big deal for. So he's becoming a really hot commodity. And then his next big movies were like My Blue Heaven, which he did opposite Steve Martin. And then he had a couple other hits there for a while. I'm trying to think. But then what happened was his wife got sick and died.
Yeah.
So he had like, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 kids or whatever that he had to basically raise. And he's Canadian and he didn't want to uproot his family. So he did like 3 or 4 movies really quick and got big paydays for them. And they're some of the worst fucking movies he ever made. And one of them being Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. The other one was that one where it was like the bully one with Tom Arnold or whatever.
Big bully.
That was horrible. Yeah. So he did a couple of those real quick just to get a cash in payday so he could go live comfortably and take care of his kids, which he did. Now that his kids are grown up.
That sounds like good so far.
A couple of years back, he started getting back into the scene by doing music and some other things. And he did do voices in the Interium. He did do a few voice spots as Doug McKenzie and a few other things while he was still living in Canada. But he didn't work otherwise. He did very, very, very little work. But no, like all of a sudden now that he's coming back, and I thought when he was in New York and got punched in the face, he was in New York because he was shooting Ghostbusters. I was wrong. He's not in a fucking movie. And I'm like, well, what the hell? So hopefully he shows up in the second one they got coming up here, or the fourth one, whatever you want to consider it.
Yeah.
Because like to me, yeah, that was the biggest mistake of his life. Is like, why did you not say yes to that? And not only that, they had a perfect role for him if they would have put him in there, I'm sure.
Well, he feels like he fits like a classic. If Tom Cruise is like the typical like action American type of star or something, you got Brendan Fraser who's like a more casual American star. Like Rick Moranis seems like the nerdy American star, like a nerdy dad that can play an underdog kind of a guy.
I'm sure he or his managers or whoever was saying shit like, and here we go with agents and managers again. Saying to him like, you don't want to make your big comeback on Ghostbusters where you're the 3rd banana or 4th banana. You want to, or 5th, 6th banana in this case, considering it's, whatever. You want the starring role. You want your Force Awakens. And that's what
But
this
if you're
Honey,
part
I
of a
Shrunk
good
the
cast
Kids.
and ensemble, then you'll be
And
remembered.
think about it.
People
What
wanna
is this?
see you again.
What does this Honey, I Shrunk the Kids sound like to you that I just explained? Sounds like the Force Awakens, don't it?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like
So
nobody
bad.
nowadays would know what the hell the Shrunk Ourselves thing is.
And now, how much you want to bet Josh Gad has a little daughter who's twice as smart as Rick Moranis ever was, and she figures out everything?
Rick Moranis will be another deadbeat dad who has no interest in his kids.
Yep.
She makes an Ant-Man device where she can grow and shrink, and he can't do that or something.
see,
and they go into the quantum
That's
realm,
kind of the
and
place,
they-
like, unless you keep going with the goofiness of the series that it originally set up. Like I said, you got the first movie paying homage to like the Fantastic
I like how you
Voyage.
described. I like how you
slash,
described that. I like how you described it. Where it's like you go into.
No, I don't think anybody ever has. Maybe the director did at one point, but I don't think so. Because Joe Johnston directed the first one. I don't remember who directed the second one, but I'd have to look again. I don't feel like spending over and looking.
Hey, Little Giants. He's okay in that one. I like that one.
That one was okay, but that was also in his period of I'm going to cash in while I
From
can.
what I remember, I like that movie though, for the most part.
But you
whether or
can
not
tell
he
at
was
that
great.
point he quit worrying about the quality and was just worrying about the size of the paycheck.
Yeah. But like, no, I like the pitch for like, no, it's like Journey of the Center of the Earth in your backyard, and it's like big.
And the second one's like a 50-foot woman Godzilla type movie. Yeah.
Like so, yeah, like that kind
So
of.
my question is, where do you go from there? Well, okay, well the next sci-fi stuff you had was either like Aliens or what else is there? Okay, so like pitch me those, and then I would come up with another concept for a third film. But what they're doing now is just basically the Force Awakens version of it.
But hey, we are starting to lose some people here, and we're going into 3 hours. So
I am so sorry. Like,
okay.
yeah, I took a fucking nap. This
Conversation.
is what happens if I hadn't taken a nap. I've been like, sure, I can get this done.
I always feed Tom with stuff to talk about.
It's good.
Rookie
No, it's
does
great
do
conversation. Yes. It's great conversation, guys. But I'll show my final pick real quick, and then we'll close it down because.
Well, that's right. You still got one left. I am so sorry, dude.
That's okay, man. That's okay. I was actually just like really enjoying your conversation. It was kind of like listening to Robert Meyer Burnett there for a minute. But here we go for my last pick, real quick, is Little Monsters with Howie Mandel and Fred Savage from Vestron.
That's weird because I've been thinking about finally watching that.
I was just like, I after I watched the American Pies, I was like, let's go back to Little Monsters because I haven't watched the Vestron. I can't say it's the best scan in the world. It's a little dark.
No.
It's a little dark, but it looks good. And I have not seen this movie in years. And this movie scared the shit out of me as a kid. It was a reason I had to keep my light on in my room for many, many years as a little kid. Because the light stopped the monsters.
It was Monsters Inc. before Monsters Inc.
Yes, and I would say that Monster Inc. ripped that movie off big time. Whoever.
Oh no,
they
were a fan of that,
dude. I've said this before. Every single Pixar movie is a rip off of another movie.
Yep,
and they got away with it. They got away with it up to the point where Cars is literally a rip off, almost scene for scene, beat for beat of Doc Hollywood.
Yeah, it's not. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not.
Bug's Life is literally Seven Samurai.
Yep.
Toy Story I've compared to a couple different things, but anyway, that I'm not going to tear into too much. Like, yeah,
I want to see the films that they're like taking from because I've seen the films themselves.
Oh, you'll know once you've seen them. You're like, oh, they totally ripped this idea off.
Yeah. But
I need to see those in general.
Well, and even their more original ones like Wall-E, they can't get away from ripping off like the design of Number 5.
Yeah, Johnny 5.
Like, Idiocracy was before Wall-E, right? That was
but if you would love Little Monsters, it's one of those great 80s movies where it's a kids movie, but it's also
Toy Story is every single buddy cop movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think they showed Little Monsters at my school, but I don't remember. What was it rated?
PG.
Oh yeah, I think they showed that. It's like there's a monsters in the closet or under the bed.
It barely got away with that PG rating. That was back when PG could still be cool.
And there's like a whole realm under there, right? Or like
dude, I have no idea how
the
fuck they got away with that dude at the main bad guy,
right?
With a PG rating, like when they come around his head and you can see he's like all fucking
and they tear his face off and everything. Yeah. And then that one dude's rocking no smoking. They say shit. They play, they're stealing crap. They piss in bottles. It's
the movie was bad. Yeah.
This would be a PG-13 movie today. Honestly, it would.
Oh, and Howie Mandel has nothing but horror stories about this movie.
I know. He hated it. He hated it.
Well,
not the movie. He hated working in the makeup OCD, and everything.
And I don't even know if he knew then if he had. I don't know if he knew then he had OCD. That was the other weird thing. So like the makeup thing was so you literally got somebody who's got a problem with touching other people, and you've got 2 or 3 other people poking and prodding at them for 4 hours.
Yep. And
I remember him talking about this in an interview. Right. So he's like, that was like horror for me. It was like torture, but it was almost like an endurance test of sorts. Yeah. And he's like, of course I would use that, much like Robert Englund said, like using, the thing with Freddy, which I'm not going to spoil. Check out that documentary, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great. But yeah, that was, it wasn't the movie that he had. It was going through the makeup and stuff. That's a horror stuff. Yeah. But, I remember this movie. It legitimately.
Oh no, he believed in the story, obviously, or wouldn't have signed up for it. It was the makeup
up,
aspect. I mean, and he's caked completely under. Like, you guys got to realize, huh? I can't imagine how he got through doing the face mask mold.
Right.
I don't know if you guys know what that entails, but you can probably see it out there on YouTube.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I know what it entails.
Yeah.
Like to do the face like that, like, and this is something for you, Rook. Like, they literally have to lay him down in this thing or on this board. And to do that extensive of work, so they had to do probably from, I would imagine, I don't know, it's probably in the making of that disc, but they had to probably get him from like here up, So you're underneath in this, basically mummified in this thing, right? That's stuck up to your face. And all you have to breathe are two straws stuck up your nose.
Yep.
Yeah, I've watched the show.
And then they
Face Off,
fill
where
it.
they kind of go into
Okay,
stuff
so
like
you know
that.
what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. So then they fill
Yeah,
this
yeah.
shit up, and like
Fill the
he's stuck
cowls
like
and
that
stuff.
for
Yeah.
however many hours back then, until they can let him out, and then they get him out. I can't imagine. I couldn't imagine doing that.
It's tough to do that for many hours, honestly, and that takes a lot. It sounds weird, but that probably takes a lot of like patience and skill, and like if your body reacts to things certain ways, like you gotta like to have that be your job. That's
I
crazy.
couldn't do. I don't know if I could do it. I have my anxiety. I think I'd have to take like a couple of
I feel that.
lorazepam or
I know
something.
I know that Jennifer Lawrence, she played as Mystique in the X-Men ones, right? She didn't want to just be in the paint or something, which is like I can understand that, but I feel like if you're gonna be in that type of role, then you've got to. I feel like
that's where I call her a pussy, because Rebecca Romaine
Yeah.
Stamos,
I was gonna
that
say
bitch went through hell for that role.
Yeah.
She was pissing and shitting blue for years.
That's what I'm saying. It's like if you're gonna go in that role, you've got to be prepared to like suffer. If you're
Rebecca Romaine literally walked around buck ass naked in blue makeup and sticky.
She talked about how she would be pissing and shitting blue for years because that shit would literally seep into her pores.
Well, it's like if it means anything, like Rebecca Romaine from the Mystique was the name, right, of the character. I'm not getting it mixed up. Okay, yeah, like she looked like confident as hell. She looked like so comfortable, and looked like she can kick anybody's ass barefoot. Like I'm not like that was impressive. I like that. And the blue, it wasn't just solid blue. It was like textured and looked like it had some type of not scales, but some type of body. I can't think of the words to it. I don't know that helped it look good. I think for back then, that was like the 90s or 2000s, or that's 2000s, right?
But yeah, the makeup effects in this are amazing. What they pulled off. Like as a kid, I remember.
Yeah, Little Monster. It was. I mean, like you can't even tell that's Howie Mandel and all. His face, like they legitimately reworked.
I didn't know it was him.
Right?
My parents had to tell me who it was, and I still couldn't quite.
Howie
Mandel.
In the Little Monsters.
Like now you can kind of tell years later, but like then he wasn't as well known yet. Like and they're like Bobby. I'm like, who? That's not him. And they're like, yeah, it's him. Because I'd actually seen the stand up because he actually did Bobby in stand up.
Yeah, Bobby Girl.
And if you haven't seen Hooray for Hollywood, it's one of the most hilarious fucking stand ups.
Was Fred Savage like a popular kid actor at the time?
Fred Savage was probably the biggest.
He was in
actor,
Princess Bride and in
Macaulay Culkin. He was the hottest.
He's the kid we all wanted to be. It was like
he was in the Wonder Years. He was this. He was in the Wizard. Princess Bride. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the Wizard. He's probably in more stuff that I remember. I just remember him in Little Monsters and Princess Bride. But he's in the Wizard. I think I saw that too.
He was a hell of an actor back then.
Vice versa.
It's like the video game Nintendo.
He circles around Judge Reinhold and vice versa.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like that's how good of an actor Fred Savage was as a kid.
It works perfectly.
Do you think there was better kid actors overall back then compared to nowadays?
Well, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Fred Savage is a great example alone. I'm stretching to think of anybody in that era that was as good as him. Like he was good. Like people don't even give him enough credit for how good he was.
Yeah, he was really good. You know what's funny is like speaking of that is like Daniel Stern plays his dad in Little Monsters, and Daniel Stern
I always caught
Wonder
that.
Years.
Well, that's what my parents told me because this movie came out right on the height of Wonder Years fame, and I noticed the voice right away, and they're like, that's the guy who does the voice on the show, right? And I'm like, I thought, like so right there was, my parents were like, yeah, it's Daniel Stern, so like,
yeah, but like, no, you can really
the guy from City Slickers and Home Alone.
I would have to say like Sean Astin maybe was a great kid actor, but he was
good, but not as good as Fred Savage. Fred Savage was
pretty solid.
One of the most natural kid actors ever, period, hands down. I'm stretching to think of somebody who's more natural at that time period, at his age, who was beyond his age in years, as far as like
did the kid who played
comprehension.
I'm getting names mixed up. The guy who plays Karate Kid.
Elijah Wood's good.
Was he? Was he good?
Well, Ralph got older and you realize that.
I don't know if he was older films, is what I'm saying. I know
That's
him from
to say,
Karate
like,
Kid,
in
but
the-
I don't know if he has another.
In the
stuff.
Karate Kid, he's like 27 in the third one. Okay, like that's the
Yeah.
thing most people don't realize. He's a lot
he
older.
he's good at looking
He-
younger than that. I
Well,
guess,
that was
'cause
his bread and butter.
He looks like he's like
basically,
19, like or
Because he
at
could
least.
play 15, 16 when he was 23, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Elijah Wood's probably the next closest one I could say to, because, and Macaulay Culkin was also a lot better than people.
Was
Yeah, Macaulay
Drew
could
Barrymore?
mug.
She and stuff.
As a
Drew
child actor,
She
she was
was
not
in
as
E.T.,
not
she was in
that
E.T.,
great.
but I don't remember her. In
She was
other
not
stuff, I
that
don't know.
great as a child actress. She was okay. Well, Gertie is literally her playing herself.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just, you know, Steven would tell her how to react to things or tell her that this is what's happening and she would react, you know, and
Right.
yeah. And Steven knew actually how to deal with kid actors. That I'll give him credit for. And I'm not even trying to say anything salacious with that. I'm just saying he just knew how to deal with kids better than a lot of other directors did. Richard Donner did as well, clearly with Goonies. 'Cause
Yeah.
he pulled a hell of a performance. Like those kids, Corey Feldman and
yeah.
River Phoenix are probably the next few in that line that I could say.
What about the kid who plays the Okie Dokie Smoky Pokey Dr. Jones? Like that kid, the
Short round?
Kilu,
Yeah, that kid.
or
that
I mean, Kihu Kwan or whatever.
He just won an Oscar.
He was okay playing the same role. Over
he
and
grew
over,
up
I
to be a
guess.
pretty good actor, right? Though.
I mean, he's
been in
playing the
stuff.
same part in both movies. That's the sad part, as far as like Goonies and Indiana Jones. And then he didn't do a whole hell of a lot after that.
Yeah,
He directed and shit.
Yeah. Well, it's like, so I guess I was curious. I brought up the child acting thing. So there's like, I've seen some moments where like some kid actors do pretty good. Like,
You want to know the
Logan,
truth?
the-
You want to know why I think he got that Oscar? It wasn't so much for his performance. I think that was everybody saying, we're sorry for saying so many bad shit things about you and Indiana Jones for
We
all these years.
apologize. Short
Yeah,
round.
We apologize, short
We're
round.
sorry.
JTT wasn't too
Because he
bad.
took
He was
so
all right.
like people forget how Short Round was kind of the original Jar Jar Binks for a lot of people back then. People forget how much people
Really?
disliked Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Temple of Doom was actually not very
People
well
did not
received.
like
I
Temple
just-
of Doom. And between him and, well, actually, I guess that's not fair. He was more like the Ewoks. Now, what's her face was more like the Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah,
I saw-
Kate whatever.
Thank you.
right?
Yeah, Steven's
saw-
probably right for catching me on that one because,
Yeah,
like,
Willie was Jar Jar.
Willie
Let's
was
face
the
it.
Jar Jar Binks. He was more like the Ewoks. Okay, that's more of a good example.
Yeah, but
When
the thing with me is I wanted to be.
I
that
love
kid.
the movie. Don't. Yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
I
I
love
did.
Yeah.
Temple of Doom.
That movie came out at a
Especially
perfect
in
time for
Goonies.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I saw Indiana Jones for the first time, I did not like them when I was younger. But recently, in the last couple of weeks, I rewatched the whole trilogy. I like them a lot. They're they're entertaining. I like them. And Short Round, even he was fine. It was okay. Like I don't think
Once
it's that
people
annoying.
get over the whole like Short Round and Willie thing, you realize they're actually sort of supposed to be like that in Temple of Doom. They're
I
there
never had
for,
a
like,
problem
Yeah, no,
with
it's like
them.
I don't
Me
like
neither.
the screaming. From
I'm
the
going
girl,
off of
but
what
it makes
everybody
sense,
says.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can
don't
understand
screaming from
Willie.
her, but it totally makes sense though. Like,
But like at the time the movie came out, the critics also had an issue with a lot of the child situation in it. There was a lot of parents who had issue with the rating of the movie being PG, especially with the dinner sequence and some of the other more harrowing
that
sequences like the
cartoony
heart.
dinner.
Well, no, you got monkey
We got
brains
monkey
and snakes and
brains. Yum,
shit.
yum.
Like people were very grossed out by that. And then the heart was just a step too far for most people.
I thought
and
that
between-
was interesting because it was like, dude, this dude can just grab you and like almost rip it out of your chest just with his bare
But on
hands.
that note,
Like, that's
I'm still
freaky, man.
surprised how much Little Monsters got away without being PG-13.
right? They get a lot. They do a lot. In that
Especially
movie.
it was only a couple of years after Temple of Doom and early on in PG-13. I mean, so that tells you they could have went a little harsher with this.
Yeah, I mean, well, the one monster rips the monster kid's head right off the shoulder and head and throws it, and then puts a little thing stuffed toy on top of it. It's pretty
People
freaky.
forget that PG-13 was not the rating it is now.
Yeah,
That's what's
Back then-
hilarious. Like
back then
it was
wasn't
almost
the
like a
goal-
kiss of death then.
yeah.
Back then, wasn't the goal that like your whole family is going to watch the movie, so it has to be entertaining.
Yes,
enough
the
for whole
stigma
family.
had
So
not
it was
wore
like-
off yet. Like, yeah, you got to understand. Like, and I remember this because I remember when PG-13 finally became a thing. I was like, when my parents were like PG-13, because that was the weird thing. It was like, oh, you can't go see that. It's just a little too much for you. It's close to R. You're not old enough, you know, like that kind of a thing yet. But there was certain things my parents would let me see that were R too. It was more like the context of it all. But no,
Yeah.
I just remember that kind of a thing going on in the nation that whoa, people step back with PG-13. Like,
Here in South
now I can't take
Carolina,
the kids.
Yeah.
here in South Carolina, there was actually a state law where a kid could not get into a PG-13 movie without an adult.
Actually, technically,
was
that's the
nearly
way
like
it's supposed
an
to
R.
be.
Yeah.
Honestly, Stephen, well, that was technically the way the ratings worked. The way the ratings were supposed to work was G was general audiences. That means anybody could buy a ticket, even a 3-year-old. PG meant anybody could buy a ticket, but it was generally you wanted a parent with a kid, or at least a guardian or an older person with a kid to get in. And that was kind of the rule. And as far as I know, with PG-13, technically you were not supposed to be able to get in unless you were 13 or older without an adult that was 13 or older. And 13 was considered an adult in that case. You got what I'm saying?
Well, that sounds backwards to me. So it's like,
and then R would have been the situation where, yeah, you can only get in with your parents.
Hold on, they just let like a 3-year-old unparent, like no adult around. Like, yeah, you can go to the theater.
If it was G-rated, they would back then. Hell yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, what's the scenario where
dude,
a 3-year-old walks out of the parking lot by
You'd
themselves?
be
like,
fucking surprised.
What is that?
Yeah, you don't understand back in the day, man.
Oh,
Parents was
God.
like, I'll pick you up in about 2-3 hours.
I'll be here before dark.
I guess I get
that was
that,
my favorite one. Be here by dark.
I was around, believe it or not, where there's some leniency where like you could get like you can go ride your bike to wherever.
I used to do shit when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I remember I get in trouble for doing some of the shit.
I guess for me,
but
when I was around 5 is when it was more okay to go more out on your own. But like pre-5, like, oh yeah, just go.
I also
3-year-olds.
I was just saying it as an example, technically by law, like whatever, like the way they would. It's not even really a law so much as it is just like.
Well, I know, but that's why I'm saying that's kind of funny because it's like, oh no, we just give the ticket. We let the child that's 3 years old pay for the ticket.
Well, what happened was,
but if the 13-year-old comes in, they can't see the rated R
was
movie.
it Columbine or what happened in that period that I can't remember now, but then it was during the Clinton era where they pushed it to where they started carding people when they were coming into movies, because that was the thing before, and that was the first time I ever remember them giving us a hard time getting into an R-rated film. Because like before that, they didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like whatever. As long as you had the money to get in, you didn't look like you were too young, they didn't give a fuck. You know, like the one time I ever got a warning, I think I've told this story before, so I'll try to keep it short for Greg's sake. Was Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I was 12 and my cousin was maybe like 9 or 10, I think. And we loved horror movies. So my cousin, it was my second cousin who would be the younger one. But my actual cousin was like more like an uncle-aged cousin. If that makes sense, because like my dad has like 9 brothers and sisters. So this would be like his oldest sister's son. So he was more like an uncle to me than a cousin. But that being said, anyway, he drops us off at the theater. He takes us up to the box office, and he's like, 2 tickets for Dracula. And the lady at the box office takes one look at us and looks at him, and he's like, "You're not going in with them?" And he's like, "No, I'm just dropping them off." And it was just like no big deal, right? Like that was just normally how it was. As long as your parents came up and said, "Yeah, it was okay, the kids could go in," because we went and saw all kinds of shit like that, right?
Okay, that makes sense to me. If the parent drops,
like
them off,
so anyway, so she looks at us both, and she looks up at him, and she goes, "I don't know if," she goes, "Are you sure they want to see Dracula?" And he's like, "Yeah, we know it's R-rated. They've seen this shit all the time." And she's like, "No, it's not that kind of a thing. It's more so, I don't know if it's what they are expecting it to be." And we didn't quite get what she was saying. We just figured, because this was actually the weird thing about this, to make the story make sense. I'm sorry. This wasn't one of our usual theaters that we went to. And to go see Dracula, for some reason, we had to travel to some other theater that we normally didn't go to. So like we knew we were going to get a hassle. So we were expecting this, because our other theaters knew us so well that they didn't even bother. My cousin didn't even have to get out anymore to go, yeah, they can go see the movie.
You know what I mean? Like these 2 10-year-olds, no problem.
Yeah, no, like they knew us well enough. They had the A-okay. We could see anything. It didn't fucking matter. Jason Goes to Hell, whatever. Who cares? You know, like,
yeah.
They didn't give a shit. We knew we were going to see it. That was how I got to see a lot of those kind of movies when I was that age. Freddy's Dead and all that kind of shit. Anyway, point being, like, so we get up to the box office, and she's sitting there looking at us, and like, okay, so like, whatever. We didn't think nothing of it. Right, we're just like, whatever. We bypassed it, got through it. We're sitting down watching a movie. About 20 minutes into the movie, I think my cousin and I looked at each other and we realized what that lady meant.
A little more sexual than you
Costume
thought.
fucking drama. Oh my god!
No,
What the fuck? For a 12 and 10-year-old, we're like, this is the worst fucking movie ever. And they advertised this as one of the most badass Dracula movies ever fucking made. We're like, you're gonna get your ass blown away in this fucking Dracula movie. Like the whole fucking trailer was cool Dracula for 1 minute, ugly like Dracula licking the blade and everything with Keanu Reeves, and you got Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, shit like that. Hannibal Lecter's in this fucking movie. Yeah, let's go see it. No, it's a fucking costume drama. So I hated Bram Stoker's Dracula the first time I saw it. Fucking flat out hated it. I was like, this is the worst 2 hours I ever spent in my life. They tricked us with this campaign. Because, yeah, the campaign, they had, Bat Dracula and shit with the... they might even had rock music at one point in one of the fucking trailers for all I know. Because, I was like, this is totally not what they were selling to me.
Like Ryan Johnson-ing you.
Now I love the movie. I adore the movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
But
Would you get
at
older?
that time, I felt so bait and switched by that movie. And I'm like, oh, God, that's what that lady meant. She really had our best interest at heart.
Yeah.
We should have seen something else.
With me, I had the opposite reaction. But then again, I was older. I was 19.
You're a little older, so I can see that. Yeah, I didn't appreciate it till I was about that age.
Yeah, because I had heard before I went in that it was going to be closer to the book, to the original Bram Stoker novel, and which I had at that point read multiple times actually, and so I was ready for what the movie was going to be. And then again, of course, my Winona Ryder fixation. So that was part of it. And so I had like this completely opposite reaction. It was like, this is going to be the coolest movie ever, but for different reasons, And so I loved it. But I can understand at your age, and they did not market that movie the right way. They did market it like
that's what I was saying. Am I wrong? Was there like an MTV campaign or something like that where they had like a rock song and shit playing with it and stuff? Where they're like, I'm sure there wasn't Smashing Pumpkins, but it's the equivalent of when they had "Despite All My Rage" in every fucking trailer on fucking MTV. But yeah,
they did advertise it like it was going to be more of an action film.
Action horror / whatever,
yeah.
Like it was very much going to be like in your face badass kind of, and I knew it was going to be more like the novel, and I think I'd read the novel at that point, right? So that part didn't surprise me so much, but I wasn't expecting the Vlad. See, now I appreciate it. I understand what he was doing. Then I had no fucking clue. I'm like, this ain't the book, and then like by the time it gets to the book shit, I'm bored off my ass already. And the only cool shit that finally happens is when he finally turns into the Bat, and that's like what 2/3 of the way into the movie. And then you have like the wolf scene, which is cool for a 12-year-old because he's humping some fucking hot ass redhead. That's good enough for a 12-year-old boner for a few minutes. But other than that, like the rest of the movie, I remember being boring as shit until I saw it as an adult and understood. Oh, he's mixing Vlad the Impaler's legend with Dracula, which I like it now. Then I had no idea what the fuck.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's been going for almost 3
Sorry,
hours.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I am
to talk.
We haven't done a long one in a while, and last week we only did like an hour and like 20. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight out there watching and in the chat. Thank you for everyone that stuck with us. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Runner. Thank you, Steven. I called you Runner, Rook.
I know. I was like, I'll just go with it. Yep.
Thank you, Rook.
All I got to say is stay tuned next week because I finally am going to have the Bruce Lee box set.
Kung Fu cannot defeat our Shaolin master.
Yeah, Jackie and Bruce to the rescue or something.
No, I got the entire 4K Bruce Lee box set and some more to talk about.
Yes.
So
that's awesome.
Exciting.
Looking forward to
I
that.
gotta finish it up.
Make sure you guys.
Game of Death is so hard to get through.
That's yeah, it is. But
it
make
is
sure
so bad. It's even worse than I remember.
Make sure you check out everybody's channel. Thank you for all showing up. We will see you guys on the next episode. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
How you doing? Bitches leave.